All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Speakeasy Brewer. Today we are brewing I hear myself on my computer, so I don't know if I'm getting feedback, but today I am um, brewing a stout, and we're calling it the Black Widow Stout because my garage got infested with black widows, and I had to kill them. And they're a thing of nightmares. And well, it's the Halloween season, so Black Widow Stout sounded like the perfect name for this beer. One thing I'm super excited about with this beer today is it's my first time ever doing a beer that is 10%. Okay, so super exciting. Um, and I think it's going to be really, really good. So I'm already getting the water heated up because I started that early because I need to kind of get things rolling. Um, and if you're wondering about the beard and you're not from my channel, this is what my followers voted for today. I had this awesome dad beard. I go to work this week, and so I have to be clean shaven baby by then. And so halfway through, I'm like, oh, I should just let my followers decide what I should wear. So you voted for it, and I'm wearing it. So this is what it looks like. It doesn't look too bad, actually. It's also kind of hard to take myself seriously, honestly. Um, but that's what we're working on today, working with, and that's how things are happening. So we're heating up our water for our mash. So our mash, this is our mash tun, okay? Home brewing style. This is our mash tun, so we're gonna put all of our grains in here. We do have a false bottom in the bottom of this thing, and I'll show you what it looks like. Guess I can also just switch to camera two. Hold the phone. Camera two. Me up. Oh, it's not showing up. Give me 1 second. Why we? That's it right there. Boom. Okay. So let me show you what's going on here. Can you see? So on the bottom of this is our false bottom. Okay. So you can see through it. There's a bunch. It's just a metal disc with a bunch of holes in it and a little tube attached to it. And that tube attaches into a spigot, which I could show you right there. That's what it looks like on the inside. So we're going to pour our grains on top, and what we're going to do from there is we're going to add our hot water to the mash tun with the grains. We're going to mix it up, make sure there's no dough clumps or anything like that, and then we're going to let it steep for about 60 minutes, okay? So super easy process. If you've never done homebrew before or you're interested in starting homebrew, this is the channel you want to follow. Join my Discord. Feel free to ask any questions. I'd be happy to help out. But yeah, our water is getting pretty close. So I've kind of done an expedited thing today. So the water's almost at the temperature that we need. We're going to mash things really quickly. So it's going to be kind of a faster, when I mean faster, it's going to be like 3.5 hours today. So let me show you what we got. In terms of grains, so here's our grain bill. Let me show you this. Screen capture, boom. Go to the recipes, design page. And this is what we have today. So this is, if you look at the top right corner, you'll see it's jet black, Black Widow Stout, baby. That's what we want to see in terms of color. I made it 10%. So the original gravity is really high, and the alcohol by volume, honestly, it should probably be more an imperial stout, so maybe that's what I'll call it. But we're using some pale malt, 12 pounds of pale malt, and that's our base malt. That's what's giving us a majority of the sugars. It's going to be transformed into alcohol and CO2. And then we have some Caramunic malt to add a little bit more color and caramely sweetness to it. And then we have pale chocolate malt, which is a small amount, and that adds a chocolatey flavor to it. Also a little bit of caramel. And then we've got Carafa 3, which also adds more chocolate. So we're basically, it's going to be a lot of chocolatey flavor. And then we might even get a little bit of a small amount of nuttiness and a little bit of coffee flavor as well. And then I added a little bit of dry malt extract to amp up the alcohol. So there's that. So that's what we're going to be dealing with today. Okay, 160. We're going to have to get going on this soon. But here's our bag of grains, 15.5 pounds of grains, plus the 2 pounds of dry malt extract. And all I have to say is it smells amazing. One thing that you can do with these grains once you've used them for making beer, you can take this, because once they're done and they've gone through the mashing process, they're considered spent grains. So what you could do with the spent grains is you can make dog biscuits, you can make spent grain bread or spent grain pizza dough, or you can even put this in a compost pile. The worms love it, and they'll turn it into really, really healthy soil for your garden. So those are some things that you can do with these grains. I'm going to preheat our container just a tad. That kind of helps maintain temperature. So preheating it by putting the hot water inside, and basically I'm just going to heat up the metal, false bottom, and we're just going to let the inside just warm up. It's getting close to where we want it to be, so that's what we're going to do. So we're shooting for a temperature of 164 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be, let me see if I can look that up, which would be, see if I could do Celsius. Celsius? No, it only does Fahrenheit. Okay. For those of you who are Celsius folk, you'll have to help me out on that one. But 164 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to put the grains in, and we're shooting for a temperature of 152 degrees Fahrenheit. And that 152 degrees Fahrenheit is going to give us our medium body for our beer. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit as well while the mashing process is happening. So I'm going to get my timer set up. We're going to do this nice and quick like, because got to help out the device. Timer, here we go. Boom. Doing 60 minutes. Okay. All right. So, yeah, that's what's going on right now. 162, we're almost there. So once we get there, we're going to cut the flame off, and we're going to pour this water in. And one thing that I always like to tell everybody, since we're all dealing with hot items here, you have to use the highest form of caution and protection for yourself and others. And I highly recommend when you're touching hot items, or will be touching hot items, to use your bare hands. So we're going to be using these bare hands to lift our hot pot and pour that water into our container. We need, I should probably look this up, we need strike water, 5 gallons. So we're going to do 5 gallons of water in there. And then we're going to start heating up our sparge water, which I'll explain all that stuff as well. And then we'll start doing that while our grains are mashing. Okay, again, it's a 60-minute ordeal. So during that 60 minutes, we'll talk about the science behind what's happening inside of the mash tun. And we're going to talk a little bit about the beer itself that we're doing today. And then if you have any questions and you're new to the channel, and you have questions about beer in general, this is where you want to be. So I'm going to be distracted for 2 seconds, mostly because I need to, I know I just threw my bare hands away, but I'm going to do a little bit. I kind of got a little too hot, honestly, by like a degree or two. That shouldn't affect us a whole lot. As long as we get the temperature that we're shooting for, that's what we want. Anyways, I see we have one person on. If I know you, welcome. It's good to have you here. It's probably Swine Hunter lurking in the back, lurking at his battle station, which is freaking sick. And yeah, so welcome, Swine Hunter. If it's you, Always glad to have you here. Hopefully you're wearing your speakeasy outfit. Swine Hunter was my brew partner for a while. He has since moved to Dallas, Texas, and I am sad because now I have to do all my brewing all by my lonesome, and it's way more fun to have people help out. Way more fun. All right. Okay, I'm going to now speed up the process because it's light enough that I can lift it. Almost there. Oh no, I spilled some water. Okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna swap it over. I don't want to lose the heat in this thing. Sorry for the noise. I don't want to lose the heat, so I'm gonna do this. Gotta get my spoon, which is awesome. It's a new spoon that I've never used before. And I don't know if I should actually use it. Looks a little dirty. Let me go get another spoon. I'll be right back. So this is a spoon I got from my neighbor, and I thought it was in storage, clean storage. Everything else was clean, but this one has not been washed. So that was my bad on the planning. I'll be right back. Oh, sorry, Coda. I'm so sorry, buddy. Oh, you're right. Sorry, Coda. Oh, I did a horrible thing. I walked in the back door. We don't have a window, so I didn't know they were there. But my dog was sitting right at the door, and my wife was right behind them with our baby. So the baby is fine, and the wife is fine, but I totally slammed the door open pretty full force, not knowing that there was going to be a dog there. So he seems okay, but I still feel really bad. Anyways, let's switch you over to this other camera. Sorry about that, Amy. I didn't even know you guys were there. Yeah, you guys see it okay? Here. See if I can get you any closer. There we go. I can get you closer. So here's our water. We're going to pour our grains in. We're going to pour them all in, and then we're going to mix it up. And for those of you who haven't gotten into home brewing yet, or have never experienced all grain brewing, you're missing out. Where did I put the spoon? Am I going crazy? Here it is. Okay. So here what we're going to do is we're going to now mix this in with the water and push it down, make sure there's no clumps. And the big reason why we don't want any clumps is more of the science behind it. It's going to help us with our efficiency of the mash. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. How's Coda? Is he doing all right? Okay. Time to get a door with the window. No, for the back door. Anyways, so we're mixing it all in. I love it. The color's looking great. You can see, I really wish I had that long spoon today, but we don't, because I didn't plan ahead. We're just trying to get a nice mix. 149-ish. Okay, so that's close. Let's do one more time. Okay, the bubbles are not helping. So surprisingly, it was a little colder than anticipated. Okay, which is fine. It'll just change the flavor a tad. Don't want it to get too cold. So one thing I can do is, here, I'm gonna start the timer, get this thing going. It's a full hour. And come back, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit, just a wee bit of hot water, just to help us out getting the proper temperature. Super important that we get this right. And just mix that in, see if we can get the temperature right. Already, the smell is amazing. All I can tell you right now is that the smell is fantastic. So right now, it smells like chocolate and like sweet bread, like a honey wheat is kind of what it smells like right now. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's really, really nice. So while we're talking, I'm going to go ahead and we got our timer going. The next set of water that we're going to use for heating is our sparge water, and this will be the water that we use to clean the grain off. And this will be the water that will rinse all the color, the sugar, the flavor of the grain into our boil pot, and then we boil it and we add our hops and all that other good stuff. So that's what we're doing. So I got a lot of my back to you. I'm sorry about that. Just trying to organize things. I ran out of time. I have a kid, and kids take time. We'll talk here in a second about the science behind the mash real fast and some of what we're trying to accomplish with this beer, okay? Just give me 1 second while I light this bad boy up. Oops, I need to do this. If I can light, I ran out of my long lighters, so. All right, now we're cooking with gas. Ha ha ha. Okay, cool. So let's talk about this, shall we? It's still early in the morning for me. It's almost 11. Let's see if I can do this. Bring you down a little closer, because you guys are mobile viewers. Yes, very mobile. You get an extra close look at my nasty beard stash thing that you guys made me do. But well done. I know the lighting is really horrendous right now. I promise this isn't my light. It's reflecting off of my table. Anyways, but it looks awesome, doesn't it? Looks like I'm having a transfiguration moment. Okay, so let's go back to screen capture real quickly. We're going to talk about a couple of things. So let's go back to design. So the only reason I didn't do Imperial Stout, which I should have done, let's see, American Stout. I think it's an American Imperial Stout. Imperial Stout right here. Very strong, very dark stout with broad range of interpretations. All right, cool. That puts us in the green. So we're a little bit low on the bitterness, but it's not too crazy. I'm going to save this because I think this is probably more likely what it's going to be. I could amp up the bitterness if I wanted to. We'll see. Anyway, so just going over our creation here. So I talked to you guys a little bit about base malts, and for those of you who missed my recipe build, it should still be on my channel. I believe it's on YouTube now. You just got to type in Imperial Stout, or just type in The Speakeasy Brewer. Look on my channel, and you'll be able to find it. It was one of the more recent streams. So, anyways, Black Widow Stout. The whole point of what we're shooting for is we're shooting for like a medium body beer, something that's somewhat dry but somewhat sweet and complex. We didn't put any oats in it, so it's not going to be smooth or creamy. What I was really trying to do is, you think about a Black Widow bite. It is, I've never been bitten by one, but you think about a Black Widow bite in general, and I mean, it's full of venom, which is why we have 10% ABV, and somewhat bitter, which is why we have 57 IBUs, which now that I think about it, I probably could have added a little bit more of the bitterness, but overall it's good. And it's dark, it's black, and it's going to be strong. So that's what we're shooting for. But I really wanted it to be somewhat so sweet, complex, medium-bodied, and dry. And so the dry malt extract that I put in, it literally is powder. I'll show you what it looks like. So what we're creating right now in this mash tun is basically malt, okay? And this is just the distilled version of it. They distill it down to sugar and they dehydrate it. And so somebody did this for us, and I get to throw it in here. And for every pound of dry malt extract that you stick in your beer, it amps it up by 1%. So that's pretty sweet. So anyways, we got 2 of those that we're going to throw in, and I just use Golden Light. Golden Light is a very light DME. It will not affect flavor. It will affect alcohol, and it won't affect color because it's light. So that's why I chose it. You could also go dark, DME. It doesn't really matter with this kind of a beer. But I guess what you have to start worrying about with the darker variants is flavor. Because you can start losing your flavor profile if you start adding a whole bunch of stuff that has other flavors. So like the dark dry malt extract will actually have chocolatiness, coffee, caramel, roastiness, nuttiness, that kind of thing, because that's what you're going to get from these grains anyways, right? So you're just adding more of those flavors into your beer. So just be cautious, but that's why I chose the lighter malt extract. And just in case anybody else new has jumped on, nobody's new jumped on, it's all good. So we're going to come back to the recipe. But yeah, I really, for a fall beer, I wanted something that's kind of hefty, which is why I did medium. I didn't do full body because I didn't want it to be like incredibly sweet. It just doesn't sound great for me, right? Great to me. So I wanted a little bit of a mix between both, but something that has some chocolate in it and something that has a little bit of coffee, something I can drink on a cold day and feel pretty stellar afterwards. Future streams, we're going to be we're going to be brewing another spiced ale, and we might even try our hand at a pumpkin ale. We have some pie pumpkins that have been growing in our garden, and we're obviously going to use them for pies, but we're going to take one and roast it and then throw it in our beer and try our hand at that. So it'll be fun. It's very challenging from what I hear. In terms of getting the spices right, it's not too bad, but trying to get the pumpkin flavor without getting too much squash flavor is pretty challenging from what I hear. Anyway, so that's what we're shooting for. And then the grains or the hops that I used or that we're using today, and I'm a dum-dum. I forgot my hop socks, aka muslin bags, to hold these things. So we're just dumping them in straight up. We did Yakima Chief hops from Washington. I believe it's from just Yakima, Washington. But we're doing Centennial hops. So let me just see if I can. I should probably show you this right here. So here's our Centennial hops. 10.4% alpha acid. So it's pretty bitter. So yeah, 10.4%. Yeah, so it's a little bitter, which is fine because an Imperial Stout is bitter, right? And then I've got some. So these are going to be pellet format. And I'll show you what they look like when we get closer to two, actually putting these in, I'll show you what they look like, but I'll show you what other hops we're using. So these two are going to be our bittering hops, which is why they're 10%. So it's going to add most of the bitterness to it. And then we're going to use some Cascade hops, which are from the Pacific Northwest. My parents' garden, they've been growing a hop plant for the last 3 years, and I still have hops from like a year ago. So they're really good. I'm kind of tempted to add like 2 ounces just to amp it up, but well, I think I am adding 2 ounces now that I think about it. But 1 is going to go in for bitterness, and let's see here. Here's 1 ounce here. Here's unknown weight, unknown weight. Oh no, are these all unknown weights? Say it's not so. Okay. Seems like they're all unknown weights currently. So let me see if I can find another 1 ouncer. Okay, here's 1 ouncer. So these ones are whole hop cones. Hey, what's up? Thanks for being on and saying hi. Oh, dude, this is just coffee. I haven't quite slipped into the beers yet. We're going to be getting there at some point in time, but I'm still trying to wake up. I have a 9-week-old, so I need the coffee. But appreciate you jumping on. Appreciate you chatting. Definitely add some. Yeah, dude, definitely get a cup, please. And cheers, whatever you get, whether it's coffee, beer, whatever, cheers to you. And thanks again for jumping on and chatting. We're brewing beer today. I'm assuming that you're the one viewer that's been on the whole time. So awesome, glad you're here. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, please feel free to ask. But yeah, we're brewing an American Imperial Stout today, called the Black Widow Stout, perfect for Halloween. So cheers. Okay, so I got my hops. Again, these hops from Oregon. My parents they have a big garden. They grow grapes. They Pinot Gris grapes specifically, and they sell them to a local winery. So it kind of runs in the family, you know, doing some sort of fermentation. So these are the hops. They're whole hop flowers. I don't know if it's a really good view, but they're whole hop flowers. So there's pollen in here, and all the cones have just been dehydrated and vacuum sealed. The potency, since it is about a year old, is pretty low, but the flavor is still pretty fantastic, and the aroma too. So we're going to use these, and like I said, because we've kind of swapped from just doing a basic American stout to an American Imperial Stout, it might be important, or it might be a good idea for us to at least add some more hops. I was only putting these hops in more for the flavor and aroma, just because of what these hops produce. It's kind of sweet, and it just has like a beautiful citrusy, not citrusy, that's not the wrong word. It's just got a beautiful floral aroma, and then the flavor is not overly bitter. It's very pleasant, and anyways, kind of like a Black Widow. They're beautiful and terrifying at the same time, and so beautiful and bitter. Okay, cool. So there's that. Anyways, why are you Ray? Okay, I just got it. It took me a second. I didn't say that. But why are you Ray? Again, thanks so much for jumping on. Anyways, those are our hops. I'll show you guys more a little bit later. Let me check my timer. I think we still have about like 40 minutes left on our timer for our mash. Yeah, we got 48 minutes. So this is an awesome opportunity to talk a little bit about the science of what's happening behind me in our mash tun, because that's where the magic is happening right now. And our water is going to be it's almost hot enough, but we'll start with the science a little bit, and then once it heats up, we'll knock out the flame and keep going. Okay, so we're doing an all grain mash today. Okay, all pro brewers, they have much larger variations of this. This is a 10-gallon container. I've only got, and I have 15.5 pounds of grains in there. I've kind of gone already over the grain bill. We have some pale malt, um, pale chocolate malt, black malt, Munich 3, and again, we've talked a little bit about this before in the past, but we have 80% of our grain bill being our base malt. That's where most of our sugars are coming from. That's where most of the alcohol will come from. And it kind of gives us this really beautiful base, golden yellow color, and kind of a grainy, weedy flavor. Okay. The best way I can explain the smell and the flavor is if you've ever lived in a valley where they grow wheat in fields, and then in late summer when they cut it, and then like the late summer evenings, kind of starts to have that damp hay smell. That's kind of what it smells like. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in the country, so it's very euphoric to me to smell that. It kind of reminds me of that. Anyways, so yeah, so that's what you're getting, where you're getting most of your sugars from, which means alcohol, and also just that grainy, bready flavor. And then we have our specialty malts, and that's our pale chocolate malt, our black patent malt, our Carafa malt, and our Munich 3. That's where we're getting our color and our flavor. And now with those, especially the ones that are much darker, like black patent or pale chocolate malt, they are very, very dark grains. And we want to use as little of those as possible. So the rest of the grain bill, which was wrapped up into those. The Munich one adds just a little bit of color. So like if I just had the pale malt and the Munich, it would make a nice copper colored beer, and it would be sweet and bready and really, really pleasant. And that's what we would have if we just had those two, okay? And the Munich, we have about 2.5 pounds of that. And that was just more to add sweetness and color and just a little bit of complexity for the body. Then when we start jumping into the other specialty malts, which is the black patent, and we want really, really small amounts of those because yes, they add chocolate flavor, which is good. And yes, they add roastiness, nuttiness, and coffee flavors, which is also really good. The problem with that is if you want too much of a good thing, it starts to become a bad thing in the beer. It becomes very overpowering. You start to get really strong tannins and just like really ashy, burnt, gross flavors. And so it's really important that when you're making a beer like a stout, you're careful on the specialty malts, and you want to try and find that balance. So that's kind of what we were shooting for with the grain bill. Now, I've talked about how we wanted a medium body. Okay, there's 3 styles of body that we're looking for in a beer. You're looking for a light body, a medium body, or a full body. Okay, and that's going to determine the complexity of the beer, the dryness of the beer, and even the mouthfeel of the beer. Okay, so a light body is something that you'd expect for a lager, let's say. Okay, a pilsner, a blonde ale, maybe even a Kolsch. Like St. Pauli's Girl or Hefeweizen or Heineken, those are all light bodies. Okay, so even Märzens are considered light bodies. So anything that's a lager is most likely going to be a light body. Light body is going to be very dry. It's going to be very clean tasting most of the time. It depends on the yeast that you use, um, and it's not going to be very sweet, or shouldn't be very sweet. Okay, and I'll explain why this is happening. Whereas a medium body, you want a little bit of the dryness and the cleanliness, as well as a little bit of sweetness and complexity. So once you get that medium body, it starts to become it becomes more well-rounded, and it's not just like dry or sweet, okay? And it's just very pleasant. And then you have the full body, which is more sweet, and it's more full on the mouth, like the mouth feel. It's just like a heftier beer. And in general, I'd say stouts would probably lean more towards the medium body to full body beer, which we are done with this water. It's all heated up, so I'll move it here in a short second as soon as I'm done talking about this. But yeah, full body is just, it's complex, it's sweet, it's just, it feels full. You drink it and you're like, man, that's a full beer. Yes. Hey, what's up, dude? Yes, yes, and it normally is, but I just felt like with the Black Widow Stout, I wanted it to be slightly dry, and I wanted it to be medium body. I wanted it to be dry and yet sweet, and I wanted there to still be a little bit of complexity, and but not too much, right? I know with the stout it normally is. So very, very good on you for pointing that out. I'm just doing a different variation today. So good question. Also, how do you like the beard? Look, you guys voted for it, and here it is. I don't know if you looked on the Discord, but I tried doing the Triforce because that was the runner up. I did a horrible job. It looks like hell. You just go look at it. It's hilarious. This it's not too bad actually. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, I feel like I should be riding a motorcycle or something. If I had this beard style would be really cool if I had like a longer mustache that could like somehow curl, and I think it would be really cool. Anyways, okay. Uh, I know, right? If I was, Amy told me I should like just do the just the mustache, so I could do like the '80s pilot style stash. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to shave it off. I was sad because it was 2 months worth of work, 2 months worth of beard growing, my dad beard, and it just felt so good to have the dad beard. But you know what? It's okay. It doesn't mean I'm not a dad not having a beard. But it is kind of nice to also have a clean face. And good thing it's still warm, because I had it one time where when I first started at Southwest, I grew my beard out because I took a month off before I went to ground school, and it was middle of winter. So I grew it all out, and then the day before we were supposed to leave, I shaved it all off, and I went outside to take Coda for a walk, and my face, it was so cold. It was so cold. Anyways, okay. So going back to the science. See, we got plenty of time. Okay. Well, why? Because you'd look too young and she'd feel like she's a cougar. Because that's what happens. We grow our beards out, makes us look all young and spry, or not young and spry, but older and wise and intelligent. And then you shave your beard off, and you're like, I'm a 20-year-old all over again. At least that's the way it worked for me. Um, yeah. So, anyways, okay. So we talked about light, medium, full body. Okay, we know what the profiles are. We know what it's supposed to taste like. We know what we're getting with that. Okay. Now, here we get into the science, the details, from somebody who's a 101 brewer, hopefully going to be a pro brewer soon. I've won some awards. Also, sorry, quick side tangent. I've got 5 beers in a competition here in Utah, and the competition award ceremony is on the 6th of October. So I'm going to go to that, and we're crossing fingers and hoping that I win something. If not, no worries, because those competitions are another great way to get really good feedback from judges and other brewers, to improve your beer, because they sit there and it's like you get a report card of each of your beers. And so you have 3 people try one beer, and so they score you on style, flavor, profile, aroma, head retention, all this stuff. And it's all based on the style that you put the beer under. And so I've got a German Pilsner that's in there. I've got an IPA, Mexican lager, and then I've got a coffee ale. And I entered the coffee ale under 2 categories. One was a vegetable category, which I know it sounds weird because you're like, coffee, vegetable? Well, that's where it's under. So I had to put it in there because of the coffee. And then I put one under, or entered the other coffee ale under specialty barrel-aged beers. Since it's an Irish coffee ale, I imitated it, conditioning and aging my beer in a barrel by having Jameson soak some oak chips for a few weeks, and then I put those oak chips and some of that whiskey in the beer and let it sit in there for another week or two, and that's where we get our vanilla oaky flavor from, and then we get that little whiskey flavor too. So anyways, I will let you guys know how that goes, but I'm super excited, also really nervous because I'm competitive. But I found out that we have 2 more competitions coming up, probably even 3 more here in Utah. So this beer will be ready for that second one. I might be brewing another one. We'll see if I can get permission from the wife, because this takes time to brew beer, and that means time I'm not helping out with the kid. So there's that. But we'll see. We'll see. Even if I turn one in, it'll be good. Anyways, okay. So science. Okay, so I remember early on I talked about like the temperature that we were trying to get the grain to. Okay, so we heated our water up to 164 degrees Fahrenheit, and the grain itself was about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. I think it was actually a little bit colder because the temperature was a little bit lower. Um, so about 150. So it was only about 2 to 3 degrees difference. Not a big deal, but it'll be fine. If it starts to get outside of that range, if it gets too cold, then you're going to have a very dry, light body beer. If it gets too hot, you're going to have a full body beer. And so there's a little sneak peek into what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so we had 164 degrees Fahrenheit water. The grain was about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, cooled the water down, and we were shooting for a target temperature of 152 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is all dependent on the style of beer that we want. Okay, so had I wanted a full body beer, I would have been shooting for like 158, 160. Okay. If I wanted a light beer, a light body beer, I'd be wanting to shoot for about 145, 144, or maybe even 140 in terms of the temperature. Okay. And then we're going to let this steep for a whole hour. And what's happening inside the process right now, what's happening inside, we're basically making tea. So we put the grain in the water, we're steeping it for an hour, and we're making tea. And the process is called saccharification. And what's happening in there is we've got our different malted barley in here, and they've been malted, right? And so that during the malting process, it activates sugars inside the grains, and then they stop it at a certain point, and then they trap the sugars inside, and they basically get to the point where they're starting to activate the enzymes that are going to use those sugars to grow the grain, and then they stop it, they dry it, and then sometimes they'll kiln it, right? They'll kiln it, or they'll roast it, or they'll smoke it, and they'll start getting those specialty flavors or getting those darker colored beers from those grains. So when you get the grain, it's a full husk. Okay, so you you get a grain mill, you crush it, and when you crush it, it just allows more surface area to touch the water, which is another reason why we were trying to break apart the dough clumps on the inside all the way down to the bottom, because we don't want those dough clumps. Dough clumps mean that there is grain not touching the water, and if there's grain not touching the water, that's grain that's not producing sugar or flavor or color, and all of a sudden you have lower efficiency on your mash. So we want a higher efficiency. So we crush it, and then we mix it really, really good, break up those dough clumps. We're good to go. So during the saccharification process, those enzymes that are inside the grain get reactivated, and we have two types of enzymes. We have alpha amylase and we have beta amylase. Okay, the two different enzymes, their job during this process is to basically convert the starches into sugars. Okay, and those sugars become fermentable food that the yeast will eat and produce CO2 and alcohol. So alpha amylase is the enzyme that actually thrives in a hotter temperature. So if we were shooting for a full body beer, alpha amylase would be more prevalent than beta amylase just because of the temperature. And what alpha amylase does is it breaks the starch chains into complex sugars. Okay, complex sugars are sugars that will not get fermented during the fermentation process, which leaves residual sweetness to the beer. Okay, hence the full body, right? And hence the sweetness. And then beta amylase, what that does is it randomly starts eating at starch chains, and it breaks the starch chains down into simple sugars. And those simple sugars are the sugars that the yeast can eat and will eat, and that's what turns that's what is that's what is used to make the alcohol and CO2, right? So light body is basically the majority, probably like 80 to 90% simple sugars after the mash process, and those sugars are all going to be consumed by the yeast, and then there's not a lot of sweetness. Therefore, you get very dry, crisp, clean tasting beers. For a full body or medium body, what we're doing a mix. So we have a mix of beta amylase and alpha amylase, and they're going to be going in there doing their thing. And we're going to have a mix of simple sugars and complex sugars. And the complex sugars are going to give that more like body, complexity, sweetness, and then the simple sugars are going to give us that alcohol. And then again, with full body, you're only getting alpha amylase, and it's only complex sugars, which means a full body beer, sweet mouthfeel. Okay, so that's the science behind saccharification, and that's what's happening in here. So we're making a tea that's going to be super sweet and sugary, and then we're going to taste it here in about 30 minutes because I always love tasting it. We're going to get a good glimpse of what the color of the beer is going to look like. We're going to get a good first off on what sort of the flavor is going to be, and Swine Hunter can attest. This is one of my favorite parts. Okay, so after this whole process, I love opening the top of this thing because one, you get just engulfed in the smell and the aroma of these grains that have just been sitting in the water, and it just it is intoxicating. And then you get to taste it, and then it's intoxicating again because it's just super sweet. It's like sweet tea with other flavors, and it's fan-freaking-tastic. So there's that. So that's what we're going to be doing here shortly, and then we go from there. From tasting it, we do this process called Vorlaufing, which is basically recirculating the wort. So, like I said, we're mashing the grain. It was water in the grain. And we're making that sweet tea, right? And that sweet tea actually has a name. It's called wort, spelled W-O-R-T, kind of like wart, but it's pronounced wort. And we're going to take that wort and we're going to cycle a few pitchers through the grain bed. One, to cause the grain bed to act as a filter, and two, we are going to try, and two, which ties in with the first one, since it's acting as a filter, we're trying to make it so that there's less grain particulate going into the boil. One, for clarity, and two, and cleanliness, and two, sometimes if you boil the grain, it can also put off some tannins, and so it reduces the amount of tannins, which are kind of off-putting flavors, kind of bitter, gross things. So we're trying to prevent that from happening. And then we sparge. So we're gonna have our hot liquor tank up here. It's gonna be hot water, rinsing all those sugars and color, flavor, all that stuff in the boil pot. We're gonna add our hops, and then that's gonna be a 60-minute process. And at the end of that, we turn the flame off and then we chill it. And I was a dum-dum yesterday. I've been a dum-dum many times lately, but I forgot my hop socks, which I already told you guys. So I'm gonna have to put free hops in there, which is fine most of the time, but with my equipment, like, it's kind of hard. So I said I wasn't gonna use a Werflock tablet, but today I'm gonna use a Werflock tablet because that's gonna collect all the hop particulate and sink it to the bottom of the barrel or the pot, so I don't get a whole bunch of that stuff going into the fermenter. A little bit's okay because during the fermentation process, all that stuff will kind of like fall out. And Werflock is nice. Werflock, I don't remember everything that goes in it, but for sure Werflock has Irish moss in it. And Irish moss gets a little bit gelatinous. And when it becomes gelatinous during the boil process, the gelatin kind of goes around and starts picking up all the free-floating particles of grain and hops and all this other stuff, and it just kind of falls out, which is nice. With a stout, normally you don't even need to use anything like that because you're not looking for clarity because it's a dark beer. Nobody's going to look in there and be like, I can see right through that. That's a nice clear beer. No, when there's a stout, you want it full. You want it, you don't even want to see through it. That's not what the purpose is. So there's that. Anyways, I'm going to move this hot water into the hot liquor tank before it gets too cold. And then we're going to, let's see, 170. They were saying 160. That'll be okay. Anyways, we're going to do that real quickly. Why are you Ray? If you have any questions about anything I just said, please ask. Again, glad you're here. Thanks for saying hi. Hopefully you got a mug of something delicious. Yeah, and I will be popping open a beer here soon. And I think it might end up being a Dallas beer. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. But Swine Hunter gave me a bunch of beers from Dallas, and I've been slowly working my way through that. Cheers. All right, let's do this. Oh. Again, if you guys have any questions, Swine Hunter, I know you and I have talked a lot about all this stuff, so you have a lot to say, or you have a better understanding of it. But why are you Ray? Just hot. Just ask away if you have any questions. Or maybe you are a brewer yourself. I don't know. Oh. I opened this up and there was a freaking bug in here. But you know what? I don't care. And the reason I don't care is one, I don't care because it was just really hot. So if it did have any bacteria or wild yeast, it's dead now. And two, because it's not going to go in the beer. Remember, the grain is going to act as a filter, so it's not a huge deal. Whew. Brewing beer with this kind of a system, you definitely get some major muscles. Hey, what's up, Rob? Dude, check it out. You guys voted. I did it. It's kind of, it kind of looks good, but at the same time, it kind of looks pretty gross. So there's that. I know, right? Who are these people? Yeah, I know. If you look at the Discord, you can see that I tried doing the Triforce from Zelda. It turns out it's much harder to do on your own face, especially when you're doing this and you're like, oh, what am I doing? And then you got like chin. Would have been easier if Brubella would have helped me, but she was busy with the baby, so I had to do it by myself. Anyways, so yeah, I know it's kind of crazy. The dad beard is going away, and after this stream, this is all going away. I might keep the stash for just a tad, just because it's kind of fun, you know. Thanks. Yeah, I tried. I have to have a baby face, clean cut, high and tight for work. So I've been on paternity leave for 12 weeks. So I had 12 weeks of growing, and it was sick. It was so awesome. It was like the longest my beard has ever been. And so yesterday, I was like, all right, I'm ready to have like a clean face again, because I was tired of getting hairs in my mouth and food and stuff. It was kind of gross, but there was just something so like sad when I started cutting it away. I'm just like, but yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I tried. I tried really hard. So, mm, mm. Anyways, I'm almost done with my coffee. I might have to go warm it up. I've got a tiny bit more. Maybe I'll put a little bit of Bailey's in it too. Although I said I was trying to drink coffee to wake up, and Bailey's isn't going to help me wake up. And since I have a kid and it's the daytime, can't have a whole ton because if we have an emergency, I have to be able to drive. So, so that being said, another thing I'm going to be doing, I know this is going to sound very like against the Speakeasy Brewer, but I'm going to try and use it as an opportunity to come up with some fun ideas or try something new. But it's only going to be for a month. But in October, you probably have all heard of it. It's called Sober October. I've already got 2 cheat days. And the cheat days are the 6th of October, which is next Sunday, because that's the beer award ceremony where we find out if any of our beers have won awards. And I just want to drink a beer because everybody else is going to be sitting there drinking beers and talking about beer the whole time, and that's hard to not have a beer. And then my other cheat day is the 11th, which is the following Friday, because we are doing an Oktoberfest themed block party. So I'm gonna have some Oktoberfest beers, and that's what's gonna happen. And then so after today, I'm not gonna have beer except for those 2 days until November. Super hard, But I have a few things that I'm going to do. It doesn't mean I can't brew beer because one, it's not beer yet. It's not beer until after fermentation. And I will have a little taste of the Black Widow Stout. So that might be a third cheat day because I'm going to be bottling it and getting it ready for the secondary competition coming up. But anyways, so I have a few ideas. I've already told Swine Hunter about one of them, but Swine Hunter don't talk about it because I want to reveal it on the day that I brew it. It's going to be different. We're going to try something new. I have a name for it and everything. So we shall see if it's a thing that will work. It does require me having my kegs back, which I haven't gotten them back from the wedding up in Oregon. The guy who picked them up and took them up to the wedding was not, he decided he wasn't going to come through Salt Lake again. So he didn't bring my kegs back. So I have to somehow get my kegs from Oregon back to Utah. I have to fly up there, which is a bummer. And then I have to ship it on FedEx or drive it down. Anyways, that's another thing. But I need to get my kegs soon because those kegs are going to help me with my experimentation in October for the thing that I need to try. Anyways, what else was I going to say? So yeah, Sober October, I'm going to try and play around with some mocktails because I have one that I want to try. And I'll just tell you the name, but I'm not going to tell you what's in it yet because we're going to experiment. I'm calling it the Molotov Mocktail. So you can guess that it's going to be hot. It will be hot, and it's going to be sweet. So we're going to try that, and then I've got a few other cocktail mocktails that I've been working on that I'll kind of reveal in October. Because you know what? Once November hits, then it's like it's holiday season, baby. We're going to have hot buttered rum like I did last year, and we're going to try some other really awesome holiday drinks like eggnog and all this other stuff. We're going to do some things, and it's going to be good. So we have to take a break in October before we get into holiday season, and there's going to be all sorts of beers. But I do need to get some pumpkin ales, and we'll try the pumpkin ale in November. Okay. So, anyways, there's that. So for those of you who are already not drinking, awesome. But if you guys are big beer drinkers like me, I encourage you to join me because one, it's going to help me not drink because I'll be like, oh, everybody else is not doing it, so I can do it. Anyways, no pressure though, no pressure. I'm just trying it because I got to try it. So, all right, let's see what our timer says. I'm almost done with my coffee and then I'm going to 20 minutes. 20 minutes. By Jove, it feels like it's taken forever. It's taken forever. I see we have one new person who jumped on. Vasislos V. Gates. All right. We just talked about a bunch of stuff, but welcome to the Speakeasy Brewer. Don't laugh at my beard too much because this isn't my normal thing. This is just a one-shot thing. So enjoy the beard style or vomit at the style, whatever you want. I don't care. But this is my followers were the ones that voted this one in, this style in, because I had a really sick dad beard. I had to shave it off for work. So, anyways, that being said, I did say I was going to get some more coffee, but then I can do a beer too. I was going to do the thing. Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back. If you're new, stick around, say hi to people. You're getting into the exciting part, I promise. We are about 20 minutes. I know it seems like a lot. So if you're like, this is really boring, leave for 20 minutes, but then come back because stuff's going to start happening. We're brewing beer today, if you're new to the channel. And if you want to see how beer is brewed, well, it's starting right now. And you can't see a whole lot in here. There's magic happening in here. And on the inside, there's grains that are going to create the most fantastic beer. So we're just sitting waiting for this to get done, and then we're gonna boil it. We're gonna add our hops and all this other fun stuff. So that's what we're doing. We got a whole bunch of other things that we're gonna be doing too. So, and we're gonna do beer review, but I'm gonna go get some more coffee. So I'll be right back. For those of you who are here, please welcome everybody who comes and tell them to stay because it will get more fun. I promise. I promise. Okay. Um, and then please, if you have any questions or anything about any of the process, or if you have ideas of what you want to see in the future, please let me know. And since I have a kid, I'm not going to be brewing 2 times a month anymore. It's challenging to do that with a kid, and I have to get permission every single time now from the wife. That's important. Happy wife, happy life. Oh yeah, brew fans. Woo. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Trying to think. Anyways, I might do one more. Like I said, I might do one more beer stream, brew day stream, because there's a competition coming up, and I would love to get a second beer in there. But if I can't do that, there's another one in February, and that's an all dark beer competition. So I'll turn this one in, and then we're gonna do a brown ale, which I made a while ago. It was called Ye Old Williams Brown. It was an English brown ale. So we're gonna redo that one, and I'm gonna try and get it right into the profile that I needed to have, because last time it was too smoky, too nutty, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna redo it again, and basically I was trying to imitate um, English cask ale. And so if you've never had a cask ales are a warmer beer, usually about 55 degree Fahrenheit, but they're in a cask. And then when you get it, they have to pump it because they're basically creating pressure on the inside to push the beer out. They're not using CO2 to push the beer out. And all the CO2 that's in the beer is from residual during fermentation, which is crazy. But the nice thing about the beer, even though it's a little bit warmer, it kind of has that really sweet, silky mouthfeel to it, kind of like you would get from like a nitro, like a Guinness or something like that. It's really, really, really pleasant. So if you haven't had a cask ale, go find a place that does cask ale. It's kind of popping up here and there in the United States. There's one place for sure that I know of in Coeur d'Alene, Washington. I think Coeur d'Alene's Washington. Is it Idaho? I can't remember. It's so close to the border. I'm pretty sure it's Washington. Coeur d'Alene, Washington. There's an Irish pub up there that's got a cask ale, and then there's a cask. Um, there's a all cask ale um, English pub in Bend, Oregon. So it is Idaho. Thanks. Okay, my geology. My words suck too. Geography. I've been to Coeur d'Alene a lot, but just I don't know. I just associate it with Washington because it's just so simple. Awesome. Well, then. Yeah, cask ales, it is nice. It's one of those things though, like you either love it or you hate it. And actually it's interesting because in Britain, cask ales are starting to disappear. And I think part of it was because not many people were buying it, or people were buying it less, like the younger generations were buying it less because we had this big boost of craft ale coming out from like the US, and it started expanding in Europe too. Yeah, it is sad days because it's a unique style, and it's one of those things where it's a historical style, and it's just got such a wonderful flavor, and it's beautiful. So it's so good. But again, for some people who, let's say, you go from the U.S. and you just get these nice, cold, strong, full-bodied, super complex, cold, hoppy beers, and then you go to England, you're like, what the hell is this? Bloody hell, mate! It's a hot beer. By Jove, I'm not going to have it. And so that's what happens. But then you have people who are like obsessed with beer, and they get over there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, cask ale! Give me a cask ale!" And then you sit there and you think about all the stuff that's going on in your head. You're like, "Oh my gosh, it's warm. Oh my gosh, it's smooth. Oh my gosh, it's actually pretty good." Anyways, it's fantastic. But there are still some places that keep it alive. And the other problem, so other than the younger generation not wanting cask ales as much, leads to another problem, which is when it's a hotter temperature, the beer doesn't last as long. So it can go bad over time. And so they have to kind of run through it quickly. And if they're not running through it quickly, then the kegs go bad, and then they um, lose money on the whole thing. So it's actually not beneficial for most businesses to do cask ales. But again, I think the U.S. likes to take things and make it better, and so we're bringing in the cask ale thing, which is kind of fun and unique for the U.S. Anyways, it's unique. Um, and the places that I've gone to get the cask ale, it's been really freaking awesome. So, and it's not a like it's not a true cask. It's a keg, but they have like a cask style system where they're creating pressure by pumping. That's how you know you get a cask, is they have to pump it. But like you go to like an old style pub, I think in Germany they might even have some cask ales. Um, well, they don't really have cask ales. It's more of a barrel that they slam a tap into and they pull it, which I would love to go do sometime. It'd be fun to get like a brand new barrel and actually like hammer that tap in, and then you just have this fresh tap of beer. Anyways, so um, and then for those of you who are new, please feel free to say hi. You are more than welcome here, and we are talking about beer, as you might have guessed. We are brewing beer, as you might have guessed, because why else would I be in my garage talking about beer? Um, and we are steeping some grains right now. So right now we have about 11 minutes. So um, I'm gonna go away for 2 seconds. I got to go top off my coffee. I might put a little bit of Bailey's in there just because this is my last day with alcohol. So for a month, minus my cheat days, but sober October, right? Got to do it because holiday season comes up, and then you're eating and drinking, and that's all you do. Okay, so and we should make a holiday beer, something that's like Christmassy. We'll have to think about that. So, anyways, um, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to follow. Um, Also, jump on our Discord. There's a link on my page, uh, Twitch page. Um, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go get some coffee. BRB. Hello. Yeah, super bumpy. One day our grass will be normal again. Okay. Brewbella and Brew Baby and Brew Dog are here. Coda, come here. Hey, come here. Hi. This is the Hoppy Puppy, my dog Coda. Hi, buddy. Hello. So good to see you. Oh, sweet boy. Anyways, he's super sweet. Um, and then we've got Brew Baby, which is part of the reason why I haven't been brewing as much. But he's amazing, and he'll be my brew helper here shortly. Here comes, weighing in at 11 pounds, Breakthrough Boy, Thunder Theo, aka Brew Baby. And here's Brewbella. So this is the brew crew here for right now. he's a he's a sweetie. Here, we'll just. Oh my goodness! This is why Twitch is awesome, because you can just do this. Look at that cute face. You can't say no to that cute face. Yep, yep. And then Brubella. So there's that. And don't worry, I know you guys. Somebody said one time, don't film your license plate. Don't worry, just a small amount. Yeah, because today is the last day I'm doing anything with alcohol, minus my cheat days. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. So yeah, the Brew family. But yeah, you guys can't see my license plate because I don't have a license plate on that car yet. So there's that. But normally I watch out for that. So for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Don't worry, I've already thought that through. And we got a bunch of people here. Okay, so I just want to say welcome to Speakeasy Brewer. Sorry, I just going far away. You get to hear, it's like surround sound if I just talk like this, and then you hear me get louder and quieter. Anyways, we're brewing beer. We've got 8 minutes before. Oh my heavens, that's the wrong page. We have 8 minutes before we start this process called Vorlaufing, and then we go straight into sparging right after that, and then we get the boil going, and that's where we're going to add the hops, and that's where the magic happens. So for those of you who are new to the process of brewing beer, even though I'm saying brewing beer today, it's not going to be beer until it starts fermentation, okay, or until after fermentation, because what we have in here is not alcohol, okay, it's basically grain tea. And I'm really excited about this part. this is not, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a sample of the beer before we start the Vorlaughing process. I'll explain it all to you guys here in a moment. I've got an awesome camera set up here so you guys can get a good view of what's actually happening. But we're going to take a quick taste of it, and that's going to be a first sample. It's going to show us the color of the beer, the flavor of the beer, and it's always so sweet, and it's one of my favorites. So we're going to take a test of that, and it's amazing. So we'll do that, and then we'll Vorlauf and go from there. And I'll try my best to explain all the flavors and smells that I'm getting, but I will say the things that make me super addicted to brewing beer, other than the process and the beer itself, the final product, is the smells. Hops smell amazing. This grain in the mash tuns is absolutely intoxicating, especially when you start getting into like complex beers like a stout, because you're not only getting that bready, weedy, like wet hay smell, which I don't know about you guys, but to me it smells amazing. But then you start getting that aroma of chocolate and coffee and caramel, and it just starts to all blend together into this beautiful like bouquet of smells, and it's amazing. And then you taste it, and then the taste is just like off the charts. It's kind of like, I don't know if you can call it healthy, but it's almost like healthy sweet tea. Instead of adding processed sugar, you just have natural sugar that's in the drink. It's amazing. Anyways, um, so in October, I've got a reveal. We're gonna try something. We're gonna experiment. I always tell you guys, be adventurous and make sure to experiment on things. And if you fail, just learn from it. Take notes. Take good notes. This whole process is nothing but science, and science is asking questions, coming up with a thesis, trying something new, taking really good notes. Good notes. Remember that, good notes, so you can look back and say, what did I do well? What did I not do well? And then you just improve, or you change it, or you're like, that really sucked, I'm never doing that again. I've done that twice, three times I've messed up 3 times, and all 3 times I'm like, never doing that again, never. But you learn lessons, and it's good, so don't be afraid of failure. Okay, Bailey's in my coffee is not that great. I either didn't add enough Bailey's, or my coffee was just too good and adding Bailey's kind of watered it down. My coffee is amazing because I roast my own coffee, and it's freaking the best. It was an Ethiopian blend too, and I was really loving it. It's got that nice chocolatey floral citrus flavor. So good. But Bailey's kind of watered it down. I'm kind of sad about that. But it is what it is. Okay. Sorry, we're getting very, very close. Um, okay, so we got everybody on here. Cool. Cool. All right. Sorry, I'm checking my own channel. Making sure everything's there. Like I said, the Discord server, YouTube channel, all that other stuff. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm back. Make your own Irish cream. Ooh, that's a good idea. I don't know how to do that. Do I just take milk and ferment it? Sounds kind of gross, but we'll try. We'll have to check it out. Check it out. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Okay, so we got 8 minutes or so. Oops. Let me get some things going here because we're gonna need all this stuff. I'll show you a quick heads up of some of the tubing we're going to be using. So let me bring you back up because I'm going to be moving around a lot, and I'm not going to be sitting close to y'all. Okay, so we got some tubing here, 2 different types. This tubing, it's food grade silicone tubing. Okay, this longer one is going to go from our mash tun into our pot, and we're doing that to try and reduce the amount of oxygen, but honestly, oxygen's okay right now because the yeast also needs oxygen for a healthy fermentation. And then we have this shorter tubing with this weird little fly sparge thing. And basically it helps to spray the water that comes from our hot liquor tank to have a nice balanced shower over the grain bed, rather than like a stream. We don't want a stream really honestly, this doesn't work as well as I thought unless it's at a high flow rate, but we don't want to have a high flow rate because that just kind of messes things up. So one day when I upgrade my equipment, I will have systems in place that will actually help improve the efficiency of the sparging process, and then we get a nice clean um, shower of um, water without um, worrying about the flow rate. So anyways, so that's what these two tubes are for, and that's what we're going to be using. Couple things. I try to rinse them off before I use them. This one, I don't really care so much because all it is water going through it, and it's hot. It's going to pretty much sterilize everything that could be. And if anything doesn't get sterilized, it goes into the boil pot anyways. It's going to get sterilized anyway. So everything's going to die in the boiling pot. Um, but yeah, I keep these things clean. The big thing about beer, so recipe is important. Water is really important, but the most important is hygiene. If you cannot keep your equipment clean, you're going to run into tons of adverse situations. Your beer is going to go bad, and you're going to get off flavors and all that stuff. So, anyways, cleanliness is a must. Um, and also, if you're using plastic containers like my fermenter over there, I think you could see it. It's kind of invisible. It's right next to that orange bucket. So plastic containers, plastic fermenters, if you're using that, try to use a sponge or a cloth. And when I say sponge, don't get the sponge with the Brillo pad on the other side because that's too scratchy. And you don't want to use a scratchy part of a sponge to get gunk off the sides. Even though it's tempting, you don't want to do that. And the reason is when you use the scratchy side of things of the sponge, you start to create micro scratches on the inside of the fermenter, which one time is fine, but once you brew a beer, basically you can't use it again because you start to get yeast and bacteria that get into those micro scratches, and it's hard to get rid of those, and those bacteria and wild yeast will actually ruin your beer. Ask me how I know. So anyways, that's what we're going to be doing with these here shortly, but we're going to take a taster of our beer first, which again is my favorite. It's my favorite. Let's see here. I don't know if I need to turn the light on, but I might need to. So let's do this. All right. Okay. Do I want white? There we go. We're going to do a little tan color. I'm going to try and do this. I'm working this out. So one thing is I'm an amateur film person. So we're going to do the best we can. I'm going to try and get some good lighting for y'all. Lots of dust. Lots of dust. It's funny. While I was getting things ready in my garage, I found 2 dead black widows in my garage. Not because of me. We have a ton of black widows here, and it's a thing of nightmares. Maybe that's why I'm doing this, because it makes me feel like I'm overcoming my fear of black widows, which I'm not, because I still hate them. But it's going to be a freaking awesome beer, I'll tell you that much. I'm almost done with my coffee, and then we are going to actually do a beer review during the. I keep looking down because the camera was here. You're right there now. Okay. Let me check the timer. I have the timer alarm, or the alarm will go off here. What happened? Okay. Why is it going? What? Hold on. It's already done. Oh my gosh. I don't know why. It has a whole extra 10 minutes. So it's like, I went to the timer and it's like 10 more minutes. I'm like, what? Okay, so we're done. We done. I'm just gonna pause that right here. It's wanting me to do a step mash, which I don't necessarily need to do for this beer. So, I think Bailey's is good. I think the only thing that would have made it better, more Bailey's. Otherwise, no Bailey's at all because my coffee was just freaking amazing. Okay, so let's go back. It's time to do the thing that we were wanting to do. Okay, so I'm gonna open this up and let's do the great reveal. Camera two. camera. Sorry, I'm kind of energized. Okay. Dun dun dun. There's our grain. Okay, that's pretty. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is, like I said, intoxicating. It is freaking amazing. So it's got that, like I said, that wet, kind of grainy, wet hay smell that you can smell, like some caramel. You can smell a little bit of chocolate, and it smells like kind of coffee grounds. Is what I'm smelling, but most of it is just kind of roasted chocolate, or bittersweet chocolate. Smells good. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna try my best not to make y'all sick. So here's what we're gonna do, because I want you all to be able to see all the things I'm doing. Oh my heavens, come on. Come on. Sorry, I'm making y'all sick, aren't I? Sorry. So these things are hard to maneuver. Okay, can you see this? Okay, I'm gonna close the garage door just a tad. See if that helps. Okay, that should work. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, so here we go. We're getting ready to do this process called voorlaufing. Okay, so remember what I said about voorlaufing is that, I'm gonna try and do this. There we go. There we go. So the voorlaufing process is where we're going to take a small sample of beer from the grain, and we're going to pour it back on the grain slowly, a nice balanced pour over the grain. We're using the grain bed as a filter, and we're going to try and get it to where we have not a ton of particulate. But I'm really excited about this, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice slow flow. We're not, if you go too fast, what you're going to end up creating these channels on the inside of the grain, on the grain bed, and it's going to not actually give you a good sparge. And the color is beautiful. It's like a dark brown. I wouldn't say it's jet black, but it's dark brown. You can kind of see it a little bit, but I've got a nice slow flow. So that's what we're doing first off. And I'll show you up close what it looks like. We're going to take our first sample of this too. And it's hard because it's a dark beer, so we can't necessarily see the particulate floating around. But what I've learned over time is that doing this at least 4 times is a pretty safe bet. So I try to do as much as I possibly can in each pitcher, like a full pitcher. Okay, this is enough. I'm gonna switch cameras real fast because I want to show you guys up close what it looks like. Okay, so we just pulled our first bit of beer, our sample. See how dark it is? Nice dark. That looks like a beautiful stout color, doesn't it? Okay, so we're gonna take a small sample of that. Small sample, and then we're gonna pour that back in. But look at that. Nice dark. As dark as a black widow. On a small amount, you could see light through it, and it's just got like a nice brown color. Let's start with the smell, because we don't have the grain on it now. So I just smell bittersweet chocolate and just kind of a breadiness. It kind of smells like almost like a rye bread, but we don't have rye in this. But just if you think about what rye bread tastes like, you know, it's a very dark colored bread. It kind of has that smell. Definitely roastiness. I don't actually smell the coffee. It smells like, yeah, just smells like grain, bread, like a dark wheat or chocolate wheat bread with a little bit of smoky roastiness. We're gonna try this. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. well, obviously it's really sweet. So it's got a um, like it has like a honey wheat flavor as kind of like a base, and it feels like baker's chocolate where it's not sweet. So it's not like a bittersweet chocolate, but it's just baker's chocolate. So there's no sugar added to it. So it's kind of like a cocoa powder, kind of bland sugar, or sorry, not bland sugar, bland chocolate. So not sweet chocolate, but then you have the honey mixed in with it. So those are the flavors that I can have, but it balances well together. And there's this like a what is it? There's like a fruitiness. I can't quite put my finger on it, like a plum. There's like a plum flavor on there, and I think that comes from the Caraminic that I chose. I'm gonna take a little bit more of this just because I want Brubella to try it because I'm nice that way. Anyways, that's a good. Gosh, it tastes okay. I know what it tastes like. It tastes like um, the Quaker Oats granola, the one with the almonds and the raisins. Kind of got like a raisiny taste to it. That's what it tastes like because it's got the same, like it's a perfect balance of like the grape raisin flavor, the almond, the milk, the sweetness, all that together. It kind of tastes like that as an aftertaste. Anyways, so there's that, and I like to call it the angel's share, even though it's not a true angel's share. Angel's share is more of a term that's used for distilling, and but I like to use it anyways for um, what we're doing here. Because it's the first taste. Anyways, you can see now I'm just going to pour it over the grain bed. And it's just nice balanced. I'm not trying to splash it or pour it really quickly. And then we're going to do this 3 more times. Um, so I open the valve down below, pretty close to off. It's just a very, very slow flow. Again, if we go too fast, we create channels in the grain bed, and we don't want to do that. And those channels will prevent us from getting the color, the flavor, and all the sugars. So we want this to be a nice, slow flow rate. And then we're going to pour it back on and use the grain bed as a filter. Again, it's a dark beer, so clarity is not a big deal. The big thing is trying to prevent um, any potential tannins coming from the grains going into the beer itself. Because during the boil process, like any tannins that are present, like if we were to have, whoops, if we were to have grain in there, or or if we were to even put like fruit peel in there, something like that, if you happen to boil it for too long, you can get off flavors, and that's not good. You want good beer, right? The whole point of doing homebrew is to, one, make good beer on your own, and it is cheaper. So for those of you who are curious about homebrewing in general, overall it is cheaper. So what you have to consider is buying the equipment, which the equipment itself is kind of like probably the biggest initial investment. Um, so like all of this equipment, some of this equipment I found for really discounted rates, or like people were getting rid of their old stuff, so I took it, or I got some of it for free. Like my original brew stuff, like when I was doing half mash or half grain or partial grain, that's what it's called, partial grain. It was grain and then liquid malt extract. When I was doing that, I had like, I was boiling on a pot inside my house, and I would use partial grain, and then I'd put the liquid malt extract in there, which is basically a sugary syrup. It's the liquid version of the dry malt extract that we're using today, um, and and then you can only do like 3.5 gallons, give or take, and then you have to add water. And it made okay beer. It wasn't like anything to write home about, other than the fact that you're like, hey, I made my own beer, it's cool. But once you start going down the deep rabbit hole and getting to this all grain, once you have all grain, you can have major control over so many aspects of your beer to make it really, really, really good. So again, the equipment you can usually find for pretty cheap. People are getting rid of their stuff because they're upgrading, or they're stopping entirely because some people just, do it, um, as it's a hobby, right? It's like you're just cooking. Um, but for somebody like me, it started off as a hobby and still is a hobby right now. But now I'm wanting to turn it into a full-blown business. Um, that's the goal, anyways. And you guys will be the first to see what's happening, and you'll be able to see. It's kind of like going to be like this underground brewery that not a lot of people are going to know about. And I won't necessarily tell you guys how you can even get access to my beer, but you'll be able to see the beer being produced and see all the different things, but you won't be able to find out how to get it. And I'm not going to tell you, because if I tell you, that kind of defeats the purpose, right? We're the Speakeasy Brewer on purpose. It's going to be a speakeasy brewery. Um, anyways, all right, so now we're going to do the sparging. And for time constraint type things, like if you're trying to save time, like myself, we're going to start heating the wort as it's coming out. So it's going to heat up as as the pot fills up. That's going to help us get the timing down. So I've got my hoses set up. So you got the short hose up here, long hose down below, and then we're going to do with the sparging process. I'm going to just go ahead and start it, and then I'll explain what I'm doing as I'm going through it. Okay. Okay. So here's what we're doing. Okay. So first we're going to open up the valve down here, and we're going to create a slow flow. This should take about 20 to 40 minutes. Usually for me, it takes about 20 minutes. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that the flow down below matches the flow up above. And because we don't want the grain bed to sink too quickly, because then we can get what we call a stuck mash. Okay, and stuck mash it's a challenge from what I hear. I've never had it, knock on wood, but I hope to not have it happen. So now we're going to open up the valve on the top for hot sparge water, and we're just going to try and match the flow rate. And as you can see, I'm just kind of, it's hard because it's still kind of a stream, but you can see a little bit of like what it would look like if, it kind of spreads the water out, this little fly attachment. But I can already tell right now that it's more water up top than there is at the bottom. And so we're just going to try and keep these matched the whole time. And I'm going to try and make sure that this grain bed gets a nice, even, balanced shower or rinse off. And this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, still a little too much flow up top. I can tell because the grain bed is rising and it's not going down. We want to make sure it's neither rising or sinking. And I can see a layer of water over top of the grain. So you can see down below, it's already starting to fill up with the wort. And I'm going to go ahead and get this bad boy started so we can heat it up as we go. Again, it's a time-saving process. Oopsie daisy. All right, so now as we heat the wort up, we're going to get it to boiling. Okay, we want it to have a nice rolling boil. One thing that I do, and I'm going to offset it a little bit, is I offset the pot so that the flame is more on one side of the pot than the other. And what that causes is it causes kind of like a convective boil. So since you've kind of already seen what the sparging process looks like, I'm going to switch screens. Okay, so what we're going to do, like I said, having it slightly off kilter, is going to kind of create this convective boil. So that's going to allow the hops to kind of rotate inside the pot. It's going to just allow that everything to kind of like boil well, but it's more for the hops. if you could get that nice boil, then the hops are kind of like working its way through the entire boil, which is nice. And again, I said I'm a dum-dum for a reason, because I don't have hop bags. I could use this, but it's kind of big. I might use it honestly for my flowered hops. I don't know. We might do that. Okay. But the other thing too is like I'm adding hops at different times. So I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? This is like one of the first times that I've like very quickly happened to get the proper flow rate. There's other systems out there where there's like a pump that you just turn on, and it has like a full spray, and it just sprays the top of the grain bed, and it's just a perfect flow rate. I don't have that equipment yet, but I'll tell you what, you might be looking at this and saying, dude, that is ghetto AF, right? You're just looking at this and you're like, this is so ghetto. But look, I'll tell you one thing, my beer is freaking amazing. I've got medals to prove it. So you can have ghetto equipment as long as it's clean and taken care of, and you have high quality like metals and tubing and things like that um, to make sure that they stay clean. You're not getting like lead or things like that in your beer. Like that's huge. So you can make great beer on systems like this. Okay. Once you can make great beer on systems like this, you can always upgrade to better systems that are like um, stainless steel systems, which I hope to do at some point in time. Um, one of my followers, who's basically turning in, he's basically a mentor now, Dr. Hoppenstein. He's an actual pro brewer in Indiana, in Monticello. He's got his own brewery called Copacetic, with a K, so you can always look it up. He's awesome. And anyways, I got a chance to talk with him, and he's been giving me tips and pointers to like ways to improve my craft and how to upgrade and scale up. So, because that's what we're gonna do. I actually met somebody recently that has a business here in Salt Lake City, and they were looking for they wanted to start brew their own beer, but they don't have time to really dabble in it. But I met the gal randomly because of a kind of a Craigslist sort of situation where we were selling something. She shows up, she saw my brew equipment, and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're already brewing. You won some awards. Your beer must be good. It'd be really cool if you could maybe partner with us and we could have you brew beer for us." So I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's sweet." So now I'm in talks with them. They're still up. They're still getting their business up and running. They're already buying beer from other breweries, um, and so it's probably going to be like a 1 to 2 year process. But now I'm like getting serious about it. So now I have to do things like get the proper permitting, the proper licensing. I have to make sure that my business license is correct. I have to get a lawyer, a CPA, and now I gotta find a place that's not my garage because the garage might not work. Okay, sorry. I just see hard question. If you are spending less time brewing, aka from twice to once a month, are you going to double the amount in beers during a single session? How are you going to scale up if you're brewing less? Okay, great question actually. I really appreciate that question. It's really good. So yes, so like right now, all we're doing with these brew day sessions is we are making 5 gallons of beer. That's all we're doing. Okay, 5 gallons of beer. It's not a lot. And so yes, if I'm brewing less, if I'm brewing once a month, then yeah, there's a couple things I can do. If I wanted to, I could do a double batch. I could clean this out while this is boiling and do a new like what am I trying to say? I could start another batch. So while this is brewing or boiling, I can have more grains steeping for the next beer. So that's one way I can do it. There is another way that I don't understand very well. People do a 10-gallon batch and a 5-gallon system using what they have. I need to do more research on how to make that happen. I haven't experimented with that as well, but I need to look into that, because some people will literally like um, they'll run all the water from the hot liquor tank through, and then they'll run more hot liquor tank water through the batch, and they'll basically make 10 gallons of water, and somehow it balances out to about 10 gallons of beer, and it still works out. I've never tried it, but I probably should. But in terms of scaling up, if I'm going to be brewing once a month, again, right now, for the speakeasy brewer business side of things, which is more for fun and just like hanging with you guys and not really for the purpose of making money, is a stream. But to scale up, the next thing would be to get bigger equipment and actually causing my recipes to have more grain and more hops and that kind of thing. So that would be the next thing to scale up, is to just get equipment that allows me to brew more beer. There is one piece of equipment that I was looking at that allows me to brew 50 gallons of beer at a time. It's called, there's a company called Spike Brewing Systems, and they have this thing called the Spike Trio. And it allows you to brew basically 2 beers at the same time, so you could do 100 gallons of beer a day. And it's got a hot liquor tank, a mash tun, and a boil kettle all in a row. And that's like $16,000. So I need to save up for that. So when I actually start going to that level where I need to scale up, there's a few things I could do. I could take that intermediate step, or I can jump up to just a step above that and do like a 1-2 barrel system where I'm doing, I don't know, 100, close to 100 gallons, I guess, on one session. So that's one way. But because I already have a current job and I don't want to quit my job because it's too good, I'm wanting to have a little bit more control over the supply and demand, which is why I'm kind of going to make it a secretive brewery that will only be brewing beers for businesses right out the gate. So I think I answered your question. If you want more clarification, just ask and I'll try and do that. But yeah, the next best thing would be to just scale up my equipment. That'd be the next best thing for me to do. And once my kid gets a little older, I can go back to like 2 times a month. But honestly, if I end up going the business route, I will brew more often. And if I brew more often, that means I'll stream more often. Because if I find a space that works for me to have all my brewing equipment set up, then I will have my cameras, mics, lighting, all that stuff in a permanent setup to always have available. So if I'm brewing, you guys will be able to watch, and I'll be streaming 100%, every time I do it. And that'll probably be like once a week. I'll be brewing once a week at least. So there's that. And then I see, yes, investors. Yes, actually, I am going to be shooting for investors. And what I'm going to be doing is I got a couple of good ideas from Dr. Hoppenstein. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have several tiers for investors. And again, it's all based on my beer. And so as I scale up my business, then I'm going to scale up the type of investment. So if I can start small, I need a small amount of investment. But once I move up and actually have some credibility and actually have business that's actually coming in and I'm making money, then to scale up to the next level, then I'm going to start opening up the other tiers of investor for investor tiers. So I've got a bunch of ideas for that, but there'll be like the base tier, which will be kind of like you come in and for like 6 months you get a free beer every single time you come in. So if you're coming every day, you get a free beer every day, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just playing around with what that would look like, what the reward would be for what that would look like. So basically, and part of it is some of the ideas that I got from Dr. Hoppenstein. But so base tier would be like 100 people paying $100, and they would get some cool award or reward for that investment, and that would help me get a majority of what I need to kind of get the base level of things going. But then as I start creating higher tiers, there's going to be less and less people that I want to join those tiers because there's going to be some higher level rewards. Like the top tier of investors that I've got planned right now, I only want like 10, maybe 5, and they're going to be the ones that will help me. It's not going to be a true board of directors because it's not a corporation, right? It's just going to be a small business. But those investors who invest that top tier level of money will help me decide what beers I brew next. They're going to be the ones that get to come in for special events, big reveals of the new beers that come in. Like it's going to be a very highly, like a high level tier type thing. Anyways, so I got some ideas. I'm working on it still. And yeah, so anyways, that's where I'm at. So yeah, good questions. Um, and again, if you want clarification or if you have any other questions, please ask away. I love that you're asking questions. It makes it really fun for me to answer. So let's look back real quick at the boil pot because our water from the hot liquor tank is almost out, pretty much out. And you can see we're starting to get a nice foam layer on top of our boil pot because, well, it's getting closer to boil. Our temperature right now for this thing, we're at about 190 degrees, so it's almost to boiling, which is awesome. That being said, it's time to get our hops ready. So our Centennial hops, which are 10.4%, I should change those real quickly while I have time. We're gonna 10.4. I have to put in the proper alpha acid amount, and I'll explain that too. So that bumps up our bitterness to 58. It'll be about 60. So it's not going to be like a super strong beer in terms of bitterness, but it'll be good either way. So let me show you guys this real quickly. Actually, let me finish this. Take the top off of this. Hot. And I'm just going to pour the rest of the water in. So you could get a really good view of what this little contraption at the end of my tubing is supposed to look like. I'm just going to pour the rest of it in. All right. It's fun because, you know, even though the process is always the same for every beer, there's a few differences between beer styles. I like the types of grains, but, you know, there might be different processes. So things like lagers. Some lagers require different process because they're just a more complex beer. Anyways, but overall, like the process for brewing beer is about the same regardless. So anyways, so we're gonna get these hops ready to go. The aroma that these produce: floral, lemon, orange, tropical, woody. And it's funny because it says IPA, amber, pale ale. We aren't doing an IPA or pale ale, but we're doing we're doing this for bitterness only. So the smell and aroma shouldn't be like crazy. So let me show you the difference in the hops. So remember, I showed you the whole hop flour from my parents' hops, and that was the flour. But now we got these pellets. Okay, so they basically take the hop plant, the hop flour, and they compress it into these little pellets. And then these little pellets are going to pop open and basically create a bunch of hop particulate. And it's going to flow in the beer during the boil. And it's going to go through this process called isomerization. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Ice like an isomer, but isomerization. So I talked a little bit about hops in general. Okay, so I said something about alpha acid, and you're probably sitting there going like, what the heck is an alpha acid? And you'd be great. It's good on you for asking those questions. So an alpha acid is a type of acid that is on these hops, and the alpha acid percentage, so the higher the percentage, the more bitterness you're going to get from the hop. The alpha acid also acts as like a antiviral or antibacterial. It has antiviral and antibacterial properties in it. Um, and surprisingly, hops are related to cannabis plants. They're very similar. Anyways, um, so that's what the percentage is. So the lower the percentage of alpha acid, just in general, like if you watch this again, higher alpha acid, so 10.4% plus up to 16, even 20%, that's all gonna mean more bitter beer. And then the smaller amount of alpha acid means less bitter beer. And then we add hops at different stages during the boil. So for bitterness, we add it right when it starts boiling. So right as soon as we get that good rolling boils going, we add our first set of hops right at the beginning, and then we time it for 60 minutes. So those hops stay in there the full 60 minutes. Then we want to start considering what sort of hops are we going to add for aroma and flavor. With flavor, let's do flavor next. With flavoring hops, you're going to add flavoring hops between 15 and 20 minutes to the end of the boil, and that's going to again flavor, right? So if I were to add these hops at the 20 to 15-minute range, that's when we're going to get the floral, lemon, orange, tropical, woody flavor. Okay, we're going to get a small amount of those flavors by introducing them and adding them to the boil at 60 minutes, but we're mostly going to get the bitterness from these. The aroma and flavor is going to come from our Cascade hops today, and it's really pleasant. So there's that. But yeah, so isomerization. So basically, what's happening on the inside of the boil when we add the hops is where the bitterness comes from. The alpha acids undergo a process, isomerization. I'm going to say it again, and the isomerization process turns the alpha acids into iso alpha acids, whatever the, and that's what causes the bitterness to happen in the beer. Okay, it's the iso alpha acid. Blah, 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 blah. Science terms and things. And let me tell you what, I wish I paid attention in chemistry class and biology class, because had somebody in high school told me, hey, do you want to one day brew good beer? You should pay attention to your chemistry teacher and your biology teacher. But no, they're like, you need to know this. Well, how's this going to affect me in my life? Doesn't matter. You got to know it, stupid school. School needs to have a purpose for everything, right? Otherwise, why the hell are we learning it all? Like, obviously, there's a purpose for it, but when teachers are like, you have to know it. Well, why? Why do I need to know it? What's the purpose of it? This is stupid. And then they don't have a good answer. Or they're like, well, you just need to know it. Dumb answers. If you're a teacher, please, for the love of God, tell your students why. If you do chemistry, if you teach chemistry or biology, tell them they can make good beer when they turn 21. It's a thing. I highly recommend it, because your kids, they're like, did they just say beer? Did they just say I can make good beer? They'll pay attention. If you can't tell them a reason or a purpose behind what they're learning, that's they don't care. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox, because who wants to pay attention or listen to somebody that's got a beard like this? Okay. Anyways, and then for those of you who weren't here before, hey, I still don't understand what a mole is in chemistry. Yeah, I don't know either. Maybe it's a chemical that hides and pops its ugly face up when you don't want it to. You're sitting there and you're like, wow, I've got this amazing chemical compound, and oh crap, something else appeared. It's a mole. It's ruined my chemical compound. We got to start all over again. Maybe they have got like mole killer compounds. I don't know. But you and me both, man. You and me both. Mm, that is so good. That is so good. Okay, we're at 2 hours. We got one more hour, so 3.5. We're gonna shoot for 12:30 right now. So one more hour on top of that. That's 1:30. We're gonna be trying to be done by 2:30. Um, Oski Bear. Hey, Oski Bear. Thanks for the follow. I haven't seen you jump on and say hi in the chat, but thank you. I hope I didn't miss you. If you're still here, awesome. Thank you so much for the follow. And then also welcome to the Speakeasy Brewer team, the Brew Crew. Don't forget to join the Discord. And I should actually check the Discord, because it looks like There might have been some new stuff. Nope, nothing. Okay, cool. Anyways, hey, dude, that's awesome. Awesome to have you part of the team. Thanks for the follow. Okay, where are we going? Where are we at? We're shooting for 7 gallons. I might actually go a little bit higher just because it's more beer. And I got a lot of bottles to fill. Okay, so I did a flavor. Oh, aroma hops. I forgot about the aroma hops. So aroma hops, we add those hops that are going to give you the aroma when you smell the beer itself. We add those between 5 minutes and 0 minutes. Sometimes you'll add it at the 0 minute marker. At 0 minutes, you turn the flame off and it starts to cool, and you just add the hops then. And then once we turn the flames off, we also want to start chilling. 15 minutes to the end of the boil, that's when we're going to add our Werflock tablet. That's when we're going to add our wort chiller. And by adding the wort chiller at the end of the boil, we add a little bit of copper to the beer, which helps to add to some complexity and body of the beer. Little trick there. Some brewers will actually throw pennies in there. I wouldn't throw a used penny in there, but if you went to the bank and got a brand new one, you could do that, and it adds a little bit of copper to it. Fun little trick. And we're getting close to boil. So there's that. And then you want to chill it as quickly as possible to avoid any potential contamination. You chill it down to like room temperature, add the yeast, or add it to the fermenter, add the yeast, throw it wherever you're going to ferment it, and then let it sit for about 3 weeks. That's a good rule of thumb for an ale. Just 3 weeks. Stick it away somewhere. It's good to go. Temperature control is another thing, and I could talk about that as well in terms of fermentation. Temperature control is an absolute must. If you cannot keep control of the temperature of the beer, your beer is going to be messed up. So ales are nice. They're a little bit more lenient because the yeast that you use are going to be anywhere between like 62 degrees Fahrenheit and even up to 90 degrees, depending on the style of beer that you're doing. But you have to maintain that temperature, and it's even more important when you're doing things like pilsners or any form of lager. Lagers need to ferment at a colder temperature, and if it gets too hot, you're going to get things like sulfur smell, rotten egg smell, and all these other off flavors. So if you're going to err on temperature, like a temperature range, err on the colder side of the temperature range, because then the worst thing that happens is your beer just ferments slowly, or it stops until it warms back up. You don't want to get to the warm side of things unless the yeast specifically wants you to get to that warm side of things, where it'll give you like the citrusy and floral and flavors if it's hotter. But you don't want to go beyond that range, because if you do, then what you end up running into is you start getting these gosh, I'm trying to think of the name now all of a sudden. Phenols? Yeah, phenols, which are just off flavors. Burnt Band-Aids. Sometimes banana can be an off flavor, depending on the beer style. Sometimes banana could be good. Rotten eggs, buttered popcorn. I had a beer once that tasted like buttered popcorn. I wasn't expecting it. The beer was not good. It was one of the worst beers I've ever had. And it takes a lot for me to say that. And it was horrible. I was just like, I drank it and I was like, ugh, so bad. Anyways, esters are good for the most part. Esters are like fruity, citrus, floral aromas and flavors. Okay, we're getting close to the boil. I know that there was a new comment, so just give me 1 second. When we get to the boil, it's really important to watch it, because once it starts boiling, we can get this thing called a boil over, and it's a mess to clean up. So you want to watch that as much as you can. So give me a second. I'm going to pop you onto this side, and then I will come back to see your comment. So just bear with me, all right? So let's see if we can move this. Okay. Okay, we're getting close. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Smells so good. So you can see the foam rising. So this is where I want to be very cautious So the nice thing about being on gas is you could just turn it off and it stops heating immediately and it'll cool down. You could also blow on it to help kind of keep the bubbles at bay. And then, yeah, so there's that. And I'm trying to, we'll see how this goes. All right, I'm just going to stop the beer there. And I'm just going to stick this in here for now. And we're just going to get the hops ready to go. And then I will check out the comment here in 2 seconds. And here's another thing I'm going to do. I will lower this so you guys can see the boil a little bit better. The nice thing about this is you, oops. All right, I'm trying to figure out the camera angle here. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, I don't want that to fall in the boil. Here. Give me a second. I'm sorry if I'm making you sick. Okay. There we go. There's a good boil. Boil cam, boil cam. All right. We have 200 degrees right now. We're at a higher altitude. We're at about 4,000 feet. So it's going to boil at a colder temperature. And what are you, Ray? I know. I see the comment. I will be there in 2 seconds once this thing gets going. One other thing I need to check real fast is I need to know when I'm going to dump that DME in. Use and boil. Use as base to increase gravity, full body lager. Late extract boil time, 0 minutes. So I'm going to put it at the very end. I might do it a little sooner than that because I've never really done that before. But okay, we're getting close to that rolling boil. But you see, remember I said I offset the pot a little bit so we can kind of get that convective boil going. This is what we're looking for. So it's going to be heated on one side, raise up, and then it's just going to create this circulation, which is perfect for our hops. It's going to be really good. You can kind of see that the bubbles are starting to come up to the surface. Also, I am horrible with like determining content other than like brewing beer and doing recipes, builds, and everything like that. So if there is content in particular that you want me or you want to see me do on this channel, please let me know. And if I don't know anything about how to make that content, I'll figure it out. I feel like this is pretty close to a rolling boil. It looks like a rolling boil to me. Okay, that's a rolling boil. So here we go. We're going to add our hops. Okay, both of them. Okay, they're in. Boom. We're going to set our timer. Oh, you see how I'm blowing on it right now. So it's getting close. I can stir it too. That would help. Just to make sure that the hops don't get stuck on the edges. Okay, no boil over. That was good. That was close though. You saw how quickly that happened. So sometimes it's a good idea to just, you can turn the flame off and completely and then turn it back on once you add the hops. But when you add the hops, it really causes that foam to raise up to the top. So I think that should be good. I'm trying to make sure all the hops get in. Again, I was a dum-dum. You want to use hop socks as much as you can, unless you have a really good system that will whirlpool it down to the bottom for you. Okay, I'm gonna open my garage door again because I think the light won't be an issue. Okay, so look at that beautiful rolling boil. All right, so now that that's going, I forgot to set the timer, of course, because I get distracted. We're gonna run it. And then I'm gonna add a Werflock tablet 50 minutes. These are at 0. And these sets of hops are gonna be at 15, what did I say? 15, 5, okay, cool. So at 15 minutes, we're adding our first set of Cascade. So we're at 15 minutes, we're gonna do our first set of Cascade, and our Werflock tablet, and our wort chiller. And then at 5 minutes, we're gonna add our second ounce of Cascade, and then right at the final end, we're gonna add our whatever it's called. Can't even think of it right now. Our liquid DME, dry malt extract. Okay, anyways, going back to the question. Okay, so 6.022 times 10 to the power of 23 is a constant used to bridge the gap between molecular scale and real-world physical reagent calculations. It allows chemists and others to precisely measure and calculate reagents up to and including brew chem calculations. Wow. So either you're a pro brewer, or you're a chemist, or you totally copied and pasted that from Wikipedia, but that's amazing. Thanks for doing the research. Why are you Ray? That's awesome. So that, I'm assuming that's a mole, right? I'm guessing, because yeah, mole. Anyways, awesome. Glad you did that. That's super cool. Okay. So reminder, when you have beer grains that you've used to make beer, you can then use the grains to make spent grain bread. You can make spent grain pizza dough. You can make spent grain dog treats, or you can put the spent grain into a compost pile, and it makes a really, really good compost. The worms love it, and it just makes this black gold that's great for your garden. So try to be resourceful with whatever you have available to your uses. And yeah, because man, you can just do so much with this stuff. And spent grain is actually really, really good for you. In fact, it has a lot of protein and nutrient. It's like a protein rich and nutrient rich grain that when you put it in bread and stuff like that, it's actually really healthy for you. And beer, apart from the alcohol, a little bit of alcohol is fine, but actually the yeast that's left over in beer is actually really good also for your gut biome. Hops have a kind of like they have a depressant uh, uh, depressant compound that's similar to what they have in pot, and that is also um, that'll like calm you down, you know. So I don't recommend that you go to beer as a means to deal with anxiety or depression, but it does do good things when you have it with friends in the evening after work. You go to the pub, you have 1 pint of beer, you enjoy that pint of beer with friends, you calm down, you get that good gut bacteria going, and life is good. Life is good. Anyways, okay, cool. I'm gonna be right back because I'm gonna go rinse this off. While I'm gone, I'm gonna let you guys watch the boil. But when I get back, I will do a beer review. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, I am back. Sorry for the long, long time of me not being here and long silence. Our little one had a blowout, so that's cool. So yeah. Anyways, just that's what's going on in our world right now. Swine Hunter knows, and Tion knows that that's what happens with kids. you just deal with it. But anyways, it was a massive blowout. Probably the worst we've had. So poop was everywhere. It's a poopy situation. All right, here we go. Okay, we're gonna do a beer review and monitor our timer to make sure that we don't miss our thing. So again, if you have any questions, oh, dude, dude, Ray, why are you Ray? Oh, I didn't realize it was you. I'm sorry. Thanks for jumping on. You know about blowouts because you have a little one. By the way, congratulations yet again. And also, um, also, you have 2 other girls, so 3 total. So that's why you would know what a mole is. I now know. I'm so sorry it's taken me this long to realize it was you. I believe you already followed me a long time ago when the channel was just getting started, and you're trying to help me out. So I appreciate that, dude. It's great to have you here. How's your little girl? How are things going? Because let's see, that was August 16th, I believe that's when it was. So she's what, a month and a half now? So I should know this. 6 weeks? 6 weeks old? I'm sorry about that. Anyways, I finally figured it out. We're good. Ray's a good friend of mine, so I don't need to ask that question anymore. That's a silly question. Awesome. That's amazing. Today is week 9 for us. So he has his 2-week well check on the 1st. So getting big. He's like 11 pounds now, and has amazing blowouts. It's great. I got peed on all over yesterday. Oh, dude, he totally like peed twice. The first time I caught it, put a diaper on. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, yeah, and then kind of got out of the diaper. I'm like, okay, whatever, it's manageable. So I took the diaper off. I'm like, sweet, you peed. This is good. So I wrapped up the diaper, threw it away. Was gonna get a wipe to like wipe it off, and I mean, freaking Old Faithful happened. Shot everywhere, all over the picture frame, all over the wall, all over me. Got on his face, got over the changing table, got all over his bottle, like the outside of the bottle, inside the cup. Like it went everywhere. And I was like, dude, you just peed. Where did all this pee come from? And then that all happened within a matter of seconds, and I was able to like put my hand over top to protect myself from a little bit of that pee. And otherwise, I mean, it was just a massive amount of pee. Massive amount of pee. So I just found out one of the people who's watching right now is Ray, part of the guys group with Jeremy. And I was sitting there, I'm like, who is this guy? And he's like, dude, it's me. Anyways, we just broke 9 pounds. Ha, so many baby stories. Yeah. Oh, no worries. I don't think they can hear it. Because Mike's pretty good at cutting things out. Yeah, lots of baby stories. It's good stuff. Okay. Yeah. Look at that. Beautiful color, isn't it? As black as a black widow. Yeah, it's the hops. I just added those. Well, they have a sweet. I mean, hops have a sweeter flavor in general, but bitter flavor. Well, yeah, but this set I put in is kind of sweet. So she's gonna try the what I call the. This is really sweet. Yeah. Yum. Ah. This is a very
like cereal, kind of a sugary cereal.
Yeah.
Bran.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yep. All right, she's got the same flavor, like
Totally like
the
raisin
oats.
bran or
Yeah, like I was thinking of the
great
Quaker
for
oats with the
breakfast.
raisins and the almonds and stuff. It's got this. Yep. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Wow.
Thanks for coming to try it. You're amazing, by the way. What'd you say? Of course. I have to save some for a little bit. I have to save some for you all the time. Okay. All right. So we're getting to it. Let's check the timer real fast because I don't want to miss this because I did it once and it was a pain in the tushy. Okay. If we got 30 minutes, we got time. Okay. Let's do beer review, shall we? Let me see what I got. By the way, my wedding beers that I sent off with the keg, I think for those of you who were on earlier, you know what I'm talking about. You know what? Okay, we've got this one, Tups Brewing, India Pale Ale, 7% alcohol, and this one is from, where's it from? Keep cold, drink fresh. This is from Traditional Brewers, brewed in the state of Texas. I believe this is a Dallas beer. No, it's from McKinney, Texas. I know a few people in McKinney. So McKinney is just north of Dallas, Texas, tiny town. Swinehunter lives there currently, and this is why he brought me some of these beers from Dallas, Texas. And he is going to hijack my channel for a brew stream. He's going to stream a kit beer. So yeah, I really like that. I never noticed that before. Huh, if you get a Stella glass like this, there's a cool little indentation with a star, but then when you turn it around, you can't even see. What am I? Okay, here we go. Here's a star, kind of, sort of. You can kind of see it. Not really, but that's okay. You can believe me. But then you turn it around. Look at that. It's like it magnifies. It's kind of cool. Okay, so here we are. This is Tups Brewing from McKinney, Texas. We're doing an IPA, India Pale Ale. But a lot of the U.S. pale ales or IPAs are not the same. So I'm curious to see if this is a true India Pale Ale or if it's like an IPA as we call it in the U.S. So like we'll see. But anyways, here we go. We're gonna try it out. Do some nice beer review. Never had this before. Never had Tups. So I'm kind of excited to try it out. I try to keep my beer reviews as unbiased as possible. If it's a style I do not like, which I've had several, I will still try to be fair with it. So one cool thing, so you'll see it's a little hazy. So one thing I just found out is that this beer in particular has yeast at the bottom of the can. If you get a bunch of yeast floating around in it, it's not a bad thing. Some people might get grossed out by it, but honestly, it's not a bad thing. Again, yeast is good for your gut biome, but you'll see it's kind of hazy. When I was pouring it, it wasn't hazy, but I got to the bottom and there was yeast there. So for a fair review, when I poured it in, it was a nice golden blonde color and very clear. We've got good head retention and it's a white head, which is good. That's what you want for an IPA. Again, there's some haziness that's associated with the yeast, but it wasn't hazy originally. So just doing a smell right now. Really strong orange flavor. Oh, smelled the bubbles. But yes, I definitely smell a very strong orange and kind of a lemon. They might have actually used Centennial hops on this in particular, because remember when I read the Centennial hops packet, it said floral, citrus, and lemon. They might have also used Citra hops or Mosaic too. Anyways, really beautiful smell, very floral with some really strong citrus hints, which would lead me to think that it's citrus hops, maybe even Mosaic, potentially Centennial. I'd love to find out for sure, but let's try it. That's pleasant. Okay. I can definitely taste citrus, but I don't taste the orange. I taste, well, it's a mix actually. Now that I taste it, yeah, there's some, again, there's that lemon and that orange flavor. It's not super bitter. I'd say it's right in the range for a regular. I would say this is a true India Pale Ale. I mean, it's not overpowering in terms of hops that you get from like traditional like Pacific Northwest IPAs. Um, but it's got a good bitterness. It's a true IPA or India Pale Ale. An IPA has kind of become its own category in the United States, where um, yeah, it's just become its own category because we add so much hop and there's just like so much complexity in those beers that it's kind of become its own style. Because a true India Pale Ale or just a Pale Ale was really bitter, um, but the hops were used to keep the beer. Um, I don't even know. This thing might be leaking. Anyways, they use the hops to maintain uh, the bitterness and the, I guess, the health of the beer. So it kept it um, fresh on the long journey. So they'd pick up the beer in India, which is why India Pale Ale. So it was a pale ale brewed in India with lots of hops, and it would come into England on ship. So it would have to last and stay fresh for that whole ship ride. And then it would come back, and then it would just still be hoppy and bitter. So that's where you get the India Pale Ale from. And then the United States, we took it and we're like Pacific Northwest explosion of hops and flavor and stuff and things and more hops, and that's why we have an IPA versus an India Pale Ale. They're similar in style, but two totally different styles now because of the slight difference. But yeah, there's a little bit of skunkiness to it, which again would come from hops, but I mean that's expected. It's not an off flavor. It's actually I would consider it as on profile. That's good. That's good. Okay. I would this is one of those it's also pretty dry and crisp. So I would say it more falls on the lighter body. It's light body, so it's dry and crisp. There's not a lot of sweetness, maybe a hint of sweetness. So it's probably on the higher end of like the light body um, beer style. So there's that. Anyways, so it's dry, it's crisp, which is nice. It allows the hops, the hop characteristics to really shine, which is kind of pleasant. And then there's like a really nice bitterness at the end that kind of overpowers that grainy, bready weediness, which is fine. Sometimes I like to have that flavor, but I think for an IPA, what you want is you want that aftertaste of the hops. And so that aftertaste, it's bitter, it's kind of skunky, but there's that residual citrus floral aroma. I would say, in terms of if I were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, I'd probably put it at a solid 4. And obviously, everybody's going to judge it differently. It's a solid 4 because um, I don't know. I feel like I said dry and crisp, but there's a cleanliness that's not there, and it could be my own fault. I would have to do it again. Now that I know that there's yeast in the can, I'd have to do it again, because sometimes that yeast can kind of interfere with that clean taste that you would get with like a nice brewery, um, or just any beer. So like I use wort flock tablets, and I use yeast that has a high flocculation, which means that once it's done fermenting, all that yeast and the residual stuff that's kind of floating around in the beer drops out and it clarifies the beer. And I use a wort flock tablet to help with that as well. And that cleanliness, so you don't have the grain particulate, you don't have the hops, you don't have the yeast, all that stuff. It's just not there. So your beer is nice and clean. So, anyways, and again, that's where I feel like I would need to have this beer one more time, knowing that there's yeast in it, and I'd probably just take a smaller sample so I don't get the yeast because sometimes that yeast can affect that clean flavor. Sometimes having the yeast in there will actually give it a certain profile that you want to have in the beer. So, and it's good. I would say the hops, I would say what I'd like to see, again, this is more personal preference. So it just depends on your style. I would say probably along the board, 4 to 4.2 would probably be great in terms of a score. Pretty much anybody who's an IPA drinker would like this. If you're not an IPA drinker and you like lighter beers, this is not a beer for you. It's really skunky. It's really bitter on the back end. I'd say it's probably about a 70% IBU. It doesn't really say though. I'd have to look it up and see if they have any more information on the actual beer on the website. But yeah, it is pretty bitter, and again, really strong in the skunkiness. I feel like over time I've kind of moved away from that desire of skunkiness. Again, it's not an off flavor, so I feel like if I were to, that's a pretty fair flavor to have in the profile. But again, I feel like if you're going to have that upfront, like really strong citrus, floral aroma and initial flavor, I feel like to balance it out, you don't want to carry that citrus and floral aroma to the very end. And then the bitterness is fine. But I feel like there's a skunky characteristic that kind of carries through to the end. It's not necessarily my favorite, but it doesn't mean it's a bad beer. It's a good beer. I know people who would absolutely freaking love this beer. Would I drink it again? Heck yeah. It's nice. It's pleasant. It's one of those, like, you work all day and you're like trying to calm down. It's a good beer. Anyways, all right, let's check the timer because I need to make sure. I'm gonna just sit down because I've been doing a lot of standing lately. It turns out kids like to be held while you're walking. They won't whine as much. Okay, we're at 19 minutes until we get our next set of hops, our Warflock tablet in. Right? Yeah. So that'd be 45 minutes. Yeah. So Warflock tablet goes in. Next set of hops goes in. And um, and then wort chiller. I'm gonna open this up because I want to take a quick whiff of it. Oh yeah, it's good still. So these hops, I've used in several of my beers. I actually used them in my Mexican lager for my buddy's wedding, and he is a big Modelo fan. My Mexican lager, I added some lime peel to it, to the boil, which made it really pleasant. And then I also used Cascade hops because that's what I had, and I didn't want to spend more money when it's free. Anyways, so there was that, and it was that Mexican lager was off the charts. It was really, really good. But he says he likes it now more than Modelo. And I was like, bro, I appreciate that, but don't be blowing nice warm air up my hiney to make me feel good. Like, tell me the honest truth. And he's like, dude, it literally is awesome. So I've had him and one other person. So I feel good, man. I feel like I'm getting to this place with my beer where it's like my beers are consistently good, which is why I'm taking it to the next level at some point in time. So actually, my next 6 months looks like so checking out licensing and laws in Utah because we're weird here. So I would need to get, and especially if I'm going to be selling beer to a local business who already has a liquor license. Because in Utah, you have a beer license, which allows you to brew beer and sell beer. I don't need to have a license to actually brew it, but to sell or distribute, I need to have a beer license, and that only covers 5% or less. And then anything more than that, you need to have a liquor license, and that liquor license is anything over 5%, and that allows you to distribute and sell High Point beer. But you can only sell it, I believe, only sell it in a can at a brewery, but you can't sell it on tap. And if you have a liquor license and you have a tap room / brewery, you are required to sell liquor and wine as well. It's kind of like weird rules. And so what I need to look at is if I'm going to be doing a small scale setup where I'm brewing beer only for specific businesses, then I need to see if I need to get those licenses. So that's number one. Number two, I need to get a lawyer. Number three, I need to probably find a new location, which would be kind of nice because then it would free up my garage and then I can have all my stuff set up all the time, so I won't have to spend hours before and after brew day streaming to set up and take down equipment for cleaning. I know, I know, I know. I have several ideas for breweries. I know I've told you about them. I feel like there's one that I need to do here in Utah first to kind of get my feet wet. Um, and then the one I told you about that would be perfect for Dallas for specific business. Anyways, we'll keep that on the hush hush for now because that's a cool idea. But for here, I'm going to call myself the Speakeasy Brewer, so I'll give you kind of a heads up of what I'm doing here. So the Speakeasy Brewer will be producing beer that basically it's the brewery you've never heard of, or the goal would be to be the largest brewery that you've never heard of, or the best tasting beer that you've never heard of, kind of thing. And it's going to be kind of a secret brewery, so it's going to be like a word of mouth sort of thing. It's going to be small batch for private purposes, and it'll be a larger batch for business, like selling to businesses. And you'll never hear about the Speakeasy Brewer because it won't have my label on it yet. I will have beers with my label on it, but you'll have to figure that out. I'm not going to tell you guys how to do it. Swine Hunter, you might know because you and I have kind of talked about the different ideas a little bit. So, but it's going to be very hard to find. It's going to allow me to have the supply and demand control, which will kind of make it fun and hard to find. And then every season, it's going to be it's going to be hard because it's going to change up. So it's not going to be one of those things where you're like, oh, I know how to get there every single time. And that kind of helps me to maintain a small level of business. And then over time, it'll get bigger. But that's the plan for now. So that's just, and it goes great with the Speakeasy Brewer like logo, or not logo, character. It's a hidden thing, right? So there's all this beer. People are trying all this beer and they're like, wow, this is really good. Who brews it? And nobody will know it's a Speakeasy Brewer because I'll just put other people's labels on it and nobody will know. So they can be like, oh yeah, it's my beer, it's my beer. And I want to make t-shirts too that says, I am the Speakeasy Brewer, kind of like I am Ben-Hur. I am Ben-Hur. No, I am Ben-Hur. No, I am Ben-Hur. And I want it to be like, I am the Speakeasy Brewer. I am the Speakeasy Brewer. So nobody really knows who the Speakeasy Brewer is except for you all who watch me on Twitch. So as long as you can find me on Twitch and YouTube, that's the only way you know about me. Otherwise, it will just kind of keep it on the DL. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's good to know. Hey, Ray, thank you for looking that up. I should see what else I need for Utah. So I will remember that. Yeah, so the fees are high though, FYI, from what I can tell. Yeah, so I think the DAB, isn't it like $100,000 or something like that? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It's something that it's just something I need to do because here's the thing. I don't know if I need to have a ton of, like, if I'm not going to have 60,000 barrels. Oh, okay. Well, that's not application fee. So 30 initial fee 3,800, application fee 300. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's doable. So that's doable. So I held an event here at my house where I created some glasses. I'll show you guys. Let me just pull one of these out, which I'm really, really proud of. It was really fun. So what I was doing was we had a fundraiser event here where I also released my other baby in terms of ideas, Brew Charity. And we raised $700 for local charities. And basically for every pint of glass, it was a $10 donation to one of the local charities. And then for the pint glass, which is the only thing that the Speakeasy Brewer is selling, which is the only thing that's under the LLC, these were $10, and that was just more to support the brewery in essence. So that might be something that I'll do, is just sell pint glasses, growlers, things like that for like low-level investment, just to kind of get things moving. And then I'll start opening up those tiers as I grow. We'll start with a lower tier, and I'm still working on that. But check this out. I don't know if you can see it. So here we go. That's like on my t-shirt. And then there's the Speakeasy Brewer. I don't know if you can see it very well. I'm sorry. But anyways, it was fun. It was kind of cool to have my own pint glass. Whoa! My own pint glasses. Nice catch. It was fun to like actually create that. So anyways, we'll see. We'll see. I'm open to ideas. You guys have some ideas, I'm sure. I just want to do things well and legally. And it's fun because this beer, so we have 10 minutes. I am going to have another brew charity event with this beer, and we're going to have one other beer, which again, I need to get my kegs back. I know, right? I know. Actually, we were at our home group the other night, and I was sitting with him, and he's just like hanging out, and he's just sitting on my lap, and then just out of nowhere, just boing, or like what we like to call suicide watch. I think I've entered that realm now. And he just launched himself, and everybody who was in the group was like, "Whoa, that was a good catch. That was close." Yes. So our beer, just so you guys know, it's still in boiling phase. Here, let me show you. Hello. Oh, he's got a new onesie on. Oh, why is it not working? Let's see if I can fix this. Yeah. Okay, well, that camera's not working for whatever reason. I think it popped off. So just so you guys know, here, I'll just show you from a distance. Here's Brubella and Thunder Theo. Look at how cute he is. Had a blowout. So here's our boil going. My other camera crapped out, so I think it disconnected. And in order for it to start working again, I would have to turn off the stream and return it back on. Let's see. Yeah, it's frozen. So anyways, that's what it looks like currently. So, but it's just boiling. Hi, buddy. What are you doing, cute boy? What are you doing? He looks tired. Did you just wake up?
He was laying on his back looking at his mobile.
No. It's 1 o'clock. It's kind of a nap time, but it's like a 30-minute nap time. Okay, so I'm gonna answer 2 questions at once. Let me talk to Brubella first. 1, I've got a little less than an hour left of the boil, so probably an hour on top of. So it's like 30 minutes left of the boil, an hour on top of that for like cleaning and putting things away. Just a heads up. I didn't even get ice, so it might take a little longer. If you want to, you're welcome to, but if you don't, it's not going to be the end of the world. If I hold him? Okay, yeah.
He's pretty happy right now.
Just take the Acura if you do, because it's in the front. But if you want to, that'd be awesome. That would help me speed things up, and then I'm going to clean everything. If you want any of these grains or want me to save them, we can do it. Okay, back to you guys. Brubella's amazing. For those of you who watch my channel, Brubella is a huge part of this channel and a huge part of my life. She's amazing. She always saves the day. She always brings me food.
Oh, I need to make you food.
She always allows me to do this. So
I always bring him food at the end of his boil when it's the most vital point of like him adding ingredients in at the right moment. So, you know, I'm great except for my timing.
Yeah. Anyways, she's amazing, and you guys can thank her for letting me do this brew day and any other brew day from here on out.
With his beard.
Yeah, and putting it with my beard. Yeah.
What do they think of your beard?
Actually, nobody said anything. I was kind of surprised. It just must look normal. It's kind of like chops meets a half. Mutton chops meets a half goatee. Anyways, but she's a reason why I'm allowed to keep doing it. You need a baby carrier that has Speakeasy Brewer baby on it.
Yeah.
I was thinking of making him a onesie that has this too. But that's a great idea. That would be really, really fun.
Do you want to take him?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
If you do, you're the best. Come here, cute boy. Yep. I got his head. I got it. I got it.
Are
Oh,
you gonna mess up your microphone?
no. Maybe not. I don't know. He's on my mic. It's cool. Yep. We're getting close to adding some stuff. So Kaylee was like, WTF did he do his face? Kaylee did that. Yeah, she was like, what did he do to his face? Yeah, Amy laughed when she saw it the first time. So, oh, Amy says hi to Kaylee. She was like, it is a very interesting beard style. It's funny because when I worked at the Montessori school, I think it's been like 9 years, 10 years, maybe more. I had a kind of a beard going then, like a nasty hippie Pacific Northwest style beard from a young guy, and one of the little kids in my class was also named Austin. So he was Little Austin, I was Big Austin. That was how we differentiated ourselves when people were saying Austin. And one day I shaved it completely off, and Little Austin walks in the classroom and he's like, Mr. Austin, what did you do to your face? Because kids don't have filters. They don't care about offense or anything like that. And I just started laughing because I thought it was the funniest dang thing. And I was like, well, I shaved it. And he's like, I don't like it. Grow your beard back now. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll do that in like a month. Anyways, yes, me and Brew Baby, we're getting ready to do, I'm going to have to do the cool dad thing here shortly. You get to watch me do my sweet action. Hey, thanks for going to get that. I love you. We'll see you in a little bit. Okay. Anyways, okay, so I was checking the time. That's what I was doing. So we got 4 minutes. So the hops are ready. I'm gonna get the Warflock tablet ready. This is the first stream that has, yeah, hipster beard. Yeah, I know. You know, I do have to admit, when I go to coffee shops and other locations, I look for the most hipster person there because I'm like, if that person is hipster, that means they care about coffee, which means the coffee is going to be good. In the Pacific Northwest, yeah, there's a lot of hipsters, but I feel like, yeah, hipsters. Here's the thing: what I think about hipsters. I always make fun of them because I never was a hipster. I was kind of like borderline hipster and lumbersexual. Um, but I knew friends that were hipsters and they were super chill, but they were very, 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 like everything they did was an art. If it was coffee, it was an art. If it's beer, it is an art. If it's art, it's art. Like it's like everything was an art, and they would go all in on music, everything, and that was their thing. And so if you see a hipster in coffee or beer or any, like, you know that they're going to put a lot of care and energy into what they create. So anyways, it's kind of funny. Anyways, Warflock tablet. Remember I told you guys that when I throw this in, it's going to, there's a little bit of Irish moss in here, as well as some other stuff, and I can't remember all of it. I should look it up. But that's going to collect all the particulate, the hop particulate, and the grain particulate, and it's going to kind of, it's going to gelatinize, collect it all, and then when we're cooling the beer, it's all going to fall to the bottom of the pail. So we're going to do that. We're going to add our wort chiller in 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Wort chiller. So we're gonna try doing this with him, which will be fun. The Brew Baby, you're already helping me brew. What a good boy. It might be the first stream on Twitch that's got a baby and beer all at once. And don't worry, I'm not choking him. I know it looks like it, but my hand is on his chest, and this part is holding underneath his chin. Anyways, he's super fun. He's getting chunky too. I don't know if you can see his legs. He's getting chunky. He's like 11 pounds now. So, Brew Baby. Okay, we're going to get our wort chiller. Hey, all y'all, just want to say thanks again for y'all jumping on. It's super fun to have you guys here. Brew Baby needs a nice chair. I know. Well, we are in we're looking for high chairs now, but it'll probably be a month or two before he can actually sit in a high chair, just because he's still working on his neck muscles. So we give him tummy time every once in a while to kind of strengthen his neck, and then sometimes I can sit here and I can hold him like this, and he can hold his head up for a little bit, which is great. But then it gets tired and then it flops around, so you kind of have to support it. So once his head is upright, he will have a chair here with me, which would be great. Oh, really? Oh, dude, that's awesome. That would be really, really nice. Yeah, it's kind of fun, all the little things, and it's crazy how fast they grow. Like it's been what, 9 weeks since he's been born, and he's grown so fast, and it's fun because he's actually now like tracking us, which is super cool. Sorry, he's flopping around. He's good, but he's tracking us. So like in the morning when he wakes up at like 6:30, we do this thing called dad time, and I take him out of his crib and lay him on my chest, and we nap for like another 2 hours. And at 8:30 he wakes up and he's starving, so then he gets fed. As soon as he's done feeding, we put him on this little blanket that looks like it's in the shape of a lily pad. It's got frogs and bugs on it, and we stick him down and we call it lily pad time. And he just sits there and kicks around and moves around. He's starting to almost roll over. He puts his legs up and he kind of flops over, and then he comes back. But we just sit there and we take some time to just like look at him and talk and do different facial expressions. And so we do that. This is going to beep soon, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this in. Sorry, I will try and talk and do things at once. Okay, so this is going to go in first, and we're going to wrap this around here. Okay, there's that. And then we're going to throw Werflock tablet in, and we're going to throw our other hops. Woo, it's much harder with a baby. Come on. I can't get it out. I can't get it out. I'm gonna have to put him down somewhere. It is more challenging with a baby, I'll tell you that much. But we're doing it. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. There's just one. Come on out. I'm gonna put him down for 2 seconds. Hold on. You're gonna lay here for 2 seconds because I need 2 hands. Okay. Oh, you're cute. Okay. I can open this bag. I know, I'm almost, don't whine. Okay, cool. Hops are in. Give it a nice stir. Okay, so I am going to give you guys a heads up. If you ever brew with whole hop cones, okay? Let me throw this away and we'll talk about it. Okay, so if you're gonna brew with whole hop cones, it is pertinent that you do some form of filtration or strainer, because the first time I used whole hops, I got most of the hop cones out with a strainer, but I left some in because I couldn't get them for whatever reason. They kind of got into the fermenter, and I was like, no worries, it's a flour, it's soaked in water, it probably sank to the bottom. That wasn't true, because during fermentation, I'll have to take a video of it and put it on Discord, but during fermentation, it's really aggressive. There's a lot of like rolling and it looks like it's boiling. It's just a lot of action and a lot of energy that's happening during the fermentation process. So what happened was I brought it into my bedroom because we had some friends staying over. Normally I keep it in like the guest shower just in case it blows up. And this time that it blew up, I did not have it in the guest shower. It was in our bedroom. And there was a couple of hop flowers that happened to boil up to the top, and then it sat on top of the kreuzen, and it plugged the bung hole. Yes, bung hole is a real term, and the bung is a real thing. And it plugged the bung hole, and the air could not escape the fermenter. And so plugged it up, and sometime in the middle of the night, that thing exploded. How I didn't wake up from it, I don't know. But it looked like somebody had explosive diarrhea all over my room. It was all over the wall, all over the bookshelf, all over our books, all over my wife's cello, pictures, the ceiling fan, the ceiling, all over our bed. Like, it went everywhere. It took me like an hour and a half to 2 hours just to clean it. Not to mention, there was so much action happening that I had to find a special tube that would hook and connect onto the top of the where the air comes out in the bung. So the bung hole, I'll show you a picture of it here shortly. Brubella just came back, so she's gonna take little Brew baby. But yeah, basically what ended up happening is, like, I had to get a bigger tube, stick it over top, and have it go into a container of sanitizing fluid, and it just had to air off. And it just sounded like somebody was farting in our bathroom for days, because it was like, bloop, bloop, bloop. What? I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I just assumed from our last block. Well, thanks for getting some, anyways. Okay, well, that's fine. It will not be in there for very long. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You can. Whatever you want. I've got some spritzer things in there. They're in the box down below. Anyways. Yeah, anyways, going back to you, Ray, I wish you could teleport 1, 2. That would be awesome. Man, we got the whole crew here. Boo Boo's guarding the ball. Brew, that's the hoppy puppy. We're trying to keep him from running to our neighbor's house, because he tends to do that sometimes. And as soon as you call his name, he takes off even faster. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Thanks for being here again. Just so you know, the heads up. Oh, and I totally forgot. Ray, you asked about the beer update. Oh yeah, I had Dax model's shirt. Cool. I'll have to check it out. I think he just probably posted that on the Discord channel. I'll check it out. I totally forgot, Ray, that you asked about the beer status. So it's still boiling. We just added our Werflock tablet, like I said, and that's to help clarify the beer, collect all the hop particulate and the grain particulate. Anything that's left is going to gelatinize and sink to the bottom. We added our wort chiller to sterilize it as we cool our beer down, and then we added our second to last set of hops for that would be the flavoring, which the Cascade adds like a really pleasant floral flavor to it, which is awesome. So anyways, that's where we're at, and we're coming down to the last bits. Let's see, we have 2 minutes before the next set of hops goes in, and then at the end of the boil, we're going to add our liquid malt extract. And there we go. Look at that. That's awesome. Look at that. Dax and his. That's Dax. I love it. We should make some onesies. I love it, dude. That's so great. I'm gonna copy that one. I love it. Thanks for doing that. That's fun. Yeah. That's cute. That's really cute.
Yeah, I wonder how many pounds he is.
Yeah, I don't know.
How you doing, little man? You don't have any more bottles.
I know. I meant to wash it this morning, and then I was like, oh, I'm running out of time. I gotta do the thing. Okay. Come back to the stream so I can see what's going on. Oh, I need to get another. My computer's getting hot. Here, yeah. Hold them for 2 seconds because I have to do things. Okay. What's up? Oh, Big Juicy Cat, what's up, dude? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for jumping on. Yeah, all three of us. Yeah, we're doing good. Amy's well. Rubella, I should say, but Amy's good.
Don't tell them my real name.
Here, I'll turn it around a little bit so you can see. We're kind of coming near the end of the boil. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, dude, it's great to have you, man. Thanks for jumping on. Here's the beard style that everybody voted on last time. It's not horrible, but it's also pretty gross at the same time. It's kind of a catch-22 for me.
Hard to take him seriously with that beard.
Mm-hmm. All right, you can get the next set of hops. Dude, Big Juicy Cat, it's so great to see you. It's been a long time, man. What's new with you? How are things? The parenting is going good. He's 9 weeks today, and he's a happy boy. He had a major blowout probably an hour ago, and but overall he's doing great. It does have a lot. I appreciate it. Next time you see me, I will have a baby face again. I miss the dad beard already, honestly. Okay, here we go. We're adding our next set of hops. That's what that beeper is. I forgot that I had the sound off on my computer, so I didn't hear the beeper the first time around. Yep. So we're adding our next set of hops. Yeah, I missed the dad beard already because it was awesome. That dad beard was the best. Anyways, but yeah, man, how are things going with you, Big Juicy Cat? What's new? Es tut mir leid. Das ist nicht so gut. Ja. Warum ist deine Arbeit so stressig? Why is his work so stressful? Haben Sie eine zu viel Arbeit und hat keine Zeit? Oder, oder ist deine Arbeit just too stressful? I don't know. I need to work on the talking. I feel like I can do it well, but when I start making up my own stuff, it's hard. Oh no! Oh, buddy, he's starting to lose his cool. And we're coming. Oh yeah. That's not good. But I mean, I guess it's better than not having enough work, right? Kind of a packed space. I know. Well, if I end up having a space, one day I can move all the stuff out of the way. Amy gets excited about that. When I say I'm gonna start a brewery, she's like, "Yes!" Then you can move all the beer stuff out of the house and out of the garage. And I would enjoy it. Yeah. Appreciate it. Mhm. Yeah. So when there's not much going on, when you say do things that you really like, is there parts of the job that you really like doing, but since it's busy you can't do those things? Or when it's not busy, you could do other things on the side while you're at work? I'm curious about that. Ja, nächste Woche, ja, Nach der Arbeit. I think that's how I say it. Yeah. Am Donnerstag. No. Ding
dong.
No.
Dingus dongus. Ding dong.
Donnerstag Thursday, right? Dienstag? Yeah, Donnerstag, right? I don't know why I'm having a. I can't remember. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart. Anyways, on Thursday, I'm going back to work for the first time after 12 weeks, which is kind of scary because it's been a while. Oh. Okay, Donnerstag, yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize you brought salsa out. Shoot. All right. Yeah, Donnerstag. I don't know actually. I forgot. Oh yeah, where am I flying? Ich fliege zuerst von Denver, Colorado zu or nach Salt Lake City. Und dann ich fliege nach Oklahoma City. Und dann die nächste Tag ich fliege nach Washington DC und Kansas City und dann Denver und dann ich fliege nach zu Hause.
So all in one day?
Ja. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where's your overnight?
Oh, I'm staying in Oklahoma City for the night. Anyways. Okay. This is done. That beep means we're done. So this is going off. We're gonna add these two bags. All right, that'd be great. Like bitchin' sauce and burritos and stuff. That'd be sweet. Okay. Here's one bag of dry malt extract. Remember, it's a powder. I'm not gonna. I mean, I could show you guys. So it looks like a powder. We're adding 2 pounds of this. And it's challenging because it's like when it gets hot, it gets super sticky. But it's like cotton candy. Yeah, he is. Okay. Anyways, get most of this in, and then I need to mix it. Honestly, I probably should have put it in the last 5 minutes, but it's just sugar, so I'm just gonna let it slowly dissolve into the beer or the wort. And remember, the whole reason we're putting this dry malt extract in is to increase the alcohol content of the beer. So each pound of dry malt extract that I put in adds one more percent of alcohol. So my original recipe before the dry malt extract was 8% ABV, alcohol by volume. And by adding these 2 bags of dry malt extract, it brings it up to 10%. So I'm just going to mix it in the best I can. And this dry malt extract is simple sugar. So again, simple sugar is the sugar that can be eaten by the yeast to make CO2 and alcohol. So I'm gonna let that sit for just a short second, and I'm gonna move this. Yeah, we're gonna move this. Sorry, give me a second, y'all. No seconds are allowed. I'm gonna move this out of the way. And that's the container I just moved. Had the spent grain in it. Again, we can use the spent grain for dog treats or compost or both, or spent grain bread. Yeah. Sorry, I'm eating from you all. It adds kind of a chocolate coffee flavor to it. Whether it's bread or pizza dough or dog treats, and since it's not real chocolate, it won't hurt your dog. What will hurt your dog is hops. Hops are very poisonous to dogs. So when you're making snacks for dogs, only use spent grains and no hops, okay? And sorry, I'm gonna look at I think so. Looks like it was a concert from Bea Badubi. I want to think it's your music, but when I saw it, I thought of you. I'll have to look it up. Bea Badubi. Let's look it up. I don't know if I said it correctly, but I'm gonna look it up. I can't play it on the stream because then Twitch will take it down. Sure. Wow, she seems to be very popular, so I'll have to look it up. Okay, cool. I will listen to it at some point. Somebody also told me about another band called Eddie Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard or something like that. So, I heard the music yesterday at the Brew place, and I was like, "This music's awesome!" And they're like, "This guy or this band, they do everything. They've done rap, they've done reggae, they've done rock, they've done classic rock." Anyways, I listened to their ska stuff, and I was like, "This is kind of fun." Yeah, ska's kind of fun with the trumpets and like bouncing around. So okay, yep. And then take your time. We don't want the beer to be ruined. Yes, I know. I don't want the beer to be ruined. Yeah, I know. It's a crazy name. I'll have to look it back up. But I'll listen to Beadabudi. I think that's how I say it. Anyway, so we're letting the beer kind of cool just a tad. What I can be doing now, which would be really helpful, is connecting these things, because what I really want to do is get this stuff cleaned up quickly. And so probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here. And if you guys want to see other stuff, like if I will, sorry, I'm going to eat one more chip because it's freaking amazing. And this hot sauce is hot. But for our follow-up, I will show you all what the beer is doing once it starts fermenting. I've got the yeast starter on the inside right now. It's going to town. Once this is cool, we transfer it to the fermenter, and then we add the yeast and we put it away for 3 weeks. So 3 weeks from now, we will have this beer ready to go. We'll bottle it. It'll be ready for the next competition. Also, maybe I'll do another beer here somewhat soon because there's a competition coming up. I kind of want to do it, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. Oh yeah, okay, Mr. Clean. All right, I can do that. If people want to see that, I'll just stick it on the Discord. I won't do it on Twitch. But I will. Yeah, it'll be babyface all over again here. Because as soon as I'm done cleaning, we've got some chores to do on the inside of the house, which I'm gonna help you do. You already did? Okay. I'll do some other stuff. But anyways, Saturday's our chore day, which is also my brew day, so it's a busy day. So I'm gonna help with that, and then I'm gonna shave. So, anyways, so before I go, do any of you all have any questions? I appreciate you all for being here today and joining me, the Speakeasy Brewer, on my brew day, brewing the Black Widow Stout. It is going to be a hard-hitting beer, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it should be good. So this is my first time doing a 10% alcohol beer, so I'm excited to see how it turns out. But anyways, that's all I have for you. Cooling the beer is kind of boring, and transferring the beer from the containers to the fermenter, it's not that exciting. Yeah. So this is the one of the next beers that I want to do. If I were to do another beer for the competition, I think I might do the Arrakis Ale again, do the spiced beer, because that really was a hit amongst a lot of people. And I think that would go really well under the spiced category, especially for fall. So I could put 3 bottles in for the competition and then have that beer ready to go for fall. I also thought about, just for a fun beer, trying my hand at a pumpkin ale. And then I also want to redo the Sunset in Paradise IPA, which is the IPA did the last 2 IPAs that I streamed for my buddy's wedding. The first stream was to do a practice run of that recipe, and the second stream was to do the final version of that recipe, which turned out great. I would love to do that one as well. I won't get both of those done for the competition, so I have to choose between the IPA or the Arrakis Ale. But I think that would be good. Christmas beer ready for, yes. So if I do another ale, I could do a Christmas ale. I had one that was called a Yuletide Ale, and it was kind of like a IPA base, but it had some smoked grain and a very small hint of smoked grain, and then it had some like Christmas spices like cinnamon and I don't remember what the other one was, but it was really pleasant. It was really good. So I do want to do a Christmas beer. Um, so I think my pumpkin stout will be something that I will have ready for uh, Thanksgiving, for U.S. holiday Thanksgiving, um, and then I'll have a Christmas ale probably done by Christmas. If I were to do Christmas ale, one thing that I've always wanted to try and have not done was a spruce tip ale. So kind of give it a Christmas tree flavor. So I've never played around with that. So I'm gonna do a bit of research on that. So maybe I could do something that's kind of like an overpowering. No, I don't want it to be overpowering, but like a very complex beer where it's kind of got a little bit of smokiness to it, a little bit of spruce Christmas tree smell to it, and maybe a little bit of holiday spice to it to kind of like create this hopefully well-rounded, balanced, and yet very complex beer. So I don't know, but go to my Discord channel and type in some ideas. If there's a beer that you guys want to see me do, drop it in the Discord, and I'll make sure I put it on the list to do. But anyways, so that's all I have for y'all, guys. Also, if you want to, I know some people have, Swine Hunter already has done so. I know a couple people were interested in buying merchandise. If you want to, I have a Printify store. I put it on the link on Discord. Fair warning, since Swine Hunter was the first person to buy anything on there, we've got the Speakeasy Brewer t-shirt, and then we've got Speakeasy Brewer pint glasses. We don't have black t-shirts yet because I need to get the white version of the logo. We'll get on that. So the black t-shirts will be available as well. And maybe we might have some onesies on there. I don't know. But fair warning, Printify makes it easy for me to send stuff to you guys if you want it. There's no pressure to it all, like no pressure. Just you being here is support enough for me to keep doing this and all. But if you get a T-shirt or glass or something like that, Swine Hunter told me that you have to pay. I thought the price was production costs plus shipping, but he said you have to actually pay for the shipping on top of that. So I am working on that. So if you want to buy any of that stuff, feel free to. But if you don't want to, don't even worry about it. Just show up and be here. That's support enough. So you guys are all amazing. Big Juicy Cat, I'm so glad you were able to jump on before the end of the stream. So great to hear. Uh, so great to have you here and see that things are going well. I hope that everything is is better. Sorry, Big Juicy Cat. Also, I don't remember how the Tannenzäpfel came out. Do you remember? Tannenzäpfel was the German Pilsner, correct? That's like your favorite German Pilsner, and we did a kind of a copy of that. Dude, I'm so glad you were on here. It was awesome. Thanks, Rob. And hey, Ray, great to have you here. Sorry it took me so long to figure out that it was you. But I loved having you on. It was awesome. It was super cool. Okay, yeah, so the Tannenzäpfel was really, really great. I still have a small, one bottle left. And it was absolutely fantastic. In fact, that's one of the beers that's in the competition right now. So next Sunday, the 6th of October, they're having an award ceremony. So I turned in the German Pils, United German Pils. We've got the Sunset in Paradise IPA, the El Bandido Mexican Lager, and then I've turned in my Quiet Irish Coffee Ale into the competition. So next Sunday, we'll find out whether we won any awards or not. If we don't win awards, it's fine. We get really good feedback, and it's fun to go there and celebrate other brewers. But the Tannenzäpfel or United German Pils, it was probably the best pils I've ever made. So I'll have to like jump on a Discord chat with you, and I can try it and tell you how it is. But it's very clean, it's very crisp, it's dry. It's got the we used, I believe, Hallertau Mittelfrüh for that, so it's just got a really great floral taste to it. It's just a really pleasant beer. So I think, if anything, I might win an award for that one. Yes. So with the water from Black Forest, yeah, good memory. I tried asking Tannenzäpfel, like I looked them up and I found the company that brewed that beer and I asked them for the water profile. They never answered me, so I actually did some research and went to the German. It was like the German water control or whatever it was, and I just looked up the Black Forest like water profile and I tried to copy it as much as possible as I could, obviously. Anyways, it was a great beer, and I am sad that I already drank all of it. But everybody who's had it said it was one of the best I've ever made. So thanks for encouraging me to do that one also. So yeah, I think that's all I have. So you guys on Discord, just a heads up, I will be showing either video or pictures of the ferment, so you can kind of see what's going on with the Black Widow Stout. I'll give some updates on it. Let's see, today's 28th, so it'll probably be the third week of October, because it's October next week, right? So yeah, it's 1, 2, 3. So the 19th is probably when it'll be done. So I might be doing a bottling stream then. I also might have another brew stream, depends on if I can find time to do it. And we'll be doing the Araka sale, and that will be another beer for the competition in November. And then we'll work on maybe a pumpkin stout for November and a Christmas ale. And I think that's 4 beers in the next 3 months. So I think we could do it. We'll see. So I can't promise anything, but I'll put video of the fermentation, pictures of the fermentation. I'll try to do a story of the Brew Day awards or the Brew competition awards. Hopefully we win. If not, no big deal. We'll learn from it. And I'll probably do a recap of the awards and go over all the information that I get from it, just because it might be helpful for you guys if you do ever end up getting into brewing, to see what a competition looks like after the fact, and then we can kind of go over the styles. Be like, oh, I turned it into this style, and this is I got an award, but this is what they tell me. We'll break it down so you guys can see what they're doing. Oh, dude, if you could, we could send water, right? Water is, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Oh my gosh. The Speakeasy Brewer gets water from all around the world to brew specific beers. That's a great idea, Big Juicy Cat. Holy cow. I love that idea. Just ship water. I mean, it'll be heavy, so it'll be expensive, but you won't have to pay like crazy taxes or weird things. Yeah, I love this idea. And of course, like maybe we'll do it when I actually am more of a business and have some like capital to play with. Then we could do it, and then that way it doesn't cost you anything because I don't want you to have to pay for it. Okay, right on, dude. Okay, well we'll play around with this idea. I love this idea. Throw it in the Discord. I know you sent me a cocktail recipe as well. I know it's in there. I need to write it down. And then I said I was going to do a cocktail stream, and I will, but it'll have to be after October because October is sober October. So I'm going to try and go a whole month without beer, except for 2 cheat days, which is next Sunday and then the following Friday because we're doing stuff. Anyways, I got to stop talking. I got to cool this beer down. I got to get back to normal life. You guys are awesome. Swine Hunter, Big Juicy Cat, Rob, Ray, all y'all, thanks for jumping on. Oski Bear, thanks for the follow. You guys are all amazing. Until next time,